Granted, I said it after. So anyway, um, hello everyone. This is the Black Eel Podcast, and we're getting ready for Halloween. So one of the big things I wanted to bring up is this is going to be a decently jammed episode. So we're going to be starting off
Very
with
jam.
there's going to be a lot of, maybe not a lot of stuff necessarily, but a lot to talk about. We have a season finale, sorry, of Ahsoka. I had to correct myself because I'm just so used to
Very,
saying it.
it's
Um,
very much this season, not series. They made a point.
Season finale of Ahsoka. We're going to be talking about the brand new trailer of Invincible for the show that is coming out November 5th. First week of
Yes,
November for sure.
yes.
And then we're going to be moving on to the first three episodes of Gen V. Mostly, I know 4 and 5 are out, but the reason why we're talking about it, just the first three, is because I have not seen 4 and 5 yet. That'll be on the next podcast, along with 6 and 7. After that, we're going to be moving on to Marvel, specifically the season premiere of Loki and episode 2. And then after that, we'll be ending like we always do with a character spotlight from the both of us. Um, Let us get right into Ahsoka. So, episode 7.
Episode 7. So episode 7 starts off. Oh, it's called Dreams and Madness. It starts off with Sarah in court. Hera in court. She is on trial, defending herself against I guess, the Council of Higher Ups in the New Republic. Um,
And that was a big back and forth, by the way.
that
Don't get me wrong, I know how Hera is, but the fact that she's telling these people who are essentially her boss, like, this is what I did and you all suck.
I mean, the perks of being a general.
Yeah, but I mean, it's weird because, granted, I agree with you, she's a general, and I'm not arguing her status. I'm just stating that these people are above her, technically. They have
Yeah,
the right to take away her authority.
very much so.
And
But
the
at the
fact
same
that she's
time,
I shouldn't say unfazed by it, but it's like, no, this is what I'm saying.
she just she's not taking it. So
No.
that is like I said, perks. But she has she's explaining to them how she disobeyed orders. She went to this unknown region, this unknown area, and against their orders, and to try to find Thrawn and some of the council members. It was
I was going to say there's
like no,
particularly one. I think there was
particularly
only.
one.
I was going to say there was
Which,
one that was very vocal.
which, by the way, I don't know if you know this because I didn't realize this at first. He is the father of the main character from the Star Wars show in Resistance.
Oh, that blows my mind.
Once a jerk,
Wow.
always a jerk.
Wow.
Uh huh.
Oh, wow. Okay, I that blew my mind because you know what's funny too? I was like, this guy looks familiar, but I can't
Yep.
pinpoint it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought he was an actor from like another show that I didn't register. You know what I'm saying? Because you know how that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Especially
Uh,
because they're now so big that they literally have to find people randomly now. Because but oh, okay. So now we've added resistance into this.
yep.
Temper. I mean, it was always a part of it technically, but
So I obviously leads the question now: how did he get from there to how he was in Resistance? So that's going to be seen eventually, probably somewhere down the road. Um, so they're going back and forth, and he is drilling Hera about how she needs to be stripped of her rank and how she went against orders and all that other stuff. And Mon Mothma basically says that unless there's some kind of proof, there's going to have to be some kind of discipline that if her mission wasn't sanctioned by the Senate, then she's going to have to be disciplined. And that's when 3PO walks in and basically is like, hey, by the way, this was approved by Leia against, and she wasn't aware that there was a vote against this mission without her knowledge, basically digging a
oh yeah,
uh, digging a grave for the other guy, which I'm blanking on his name. Um,
I know who you're talking about though, but
yeah.
it's gonna bother me. But anyway, continue.
Um,
I'll look that up while
so
you talk.
so the other guy, which we're going to refer to him as the other guy until we find out his name.
Yep.
The other guy made some rude comments to the droids, and 3PO was not a fan of that, and neither was Chopper, which I absolutely loved. And in that instance as well, we find out that this season is taking place right after the events of Mandalorian season 3.
Okay.
Because
How do we know that?
because during the court pressing,
Oh,
the captain jumped up and said, "What about the events on Mandalore?" And he said Gideon was a warmonger, the war remnants. So so we find out that might not. It's definitely taken place after season 3 because that stuff has already happened. So that's the end of that. Mon Mothma finds in favor after 3PO comes in, finds in favor of Hera and Ahsoka that they are not going to be they are not going to face any consequences. And after the court is dismissed, Mon Mothma comes up to Hera and is just, how much danger are we in? And Hera says, prepare, get ready for the worst, and just get ready for death and destruction. Once that's done, we jump to Ahsoka and Hu Yang inside the mouth of the Purgle, getting ready to arrive.
yes.
Getting ready to arrive at the unknown region that they are traveling to, where Thrawn and Ezra and now Sabine is residing at. Um, they are they just before they arrive, we see Ahsoka training, and there is a hologram of Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker is instructing Ahsoka to be prepared for any kind of situation in the Clone Wars, because again, like we talked about before, this is a situation that the Jedi have never been in. This is unprecedented times, and they might have to face enemies that they might not normally face, like Count Dooku, General Grievous, Asajj Ventress, which I'm thrilled that they mentioned Asajj Ventress in this show.
Now, was that the apprentice of Dooku in Clone Wars?
Dooku, yes.
Okay. By the way, his name was Hamato, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Hamato Zanano? Zano? Xiono.
We're just gonna call him Hanato.
No, that's fine. And he, yeah. So he was, yeah. Yep. He's the guy, the main character's father and the senator of the New Republic,
Yep.
which we
Okay.
already, which we already knew. Well,
Mhm.
meaning like we knew that's what was his gimmick.
Um, so Hu Yang tells Ahsoka that they're basically arriving because the Purgles are starting to slow down, which means they're just about at their destination. Um, so they go. Ahsoka ends the hologram. Says that hologram was the last one that he recorded for her before they really began.
I also like what
Hmm?
I was gonna say. I really like what he says to her when she finishes about how, oh, I'm surprised he did this. Like like he hinted at the fact, like, I'm surprised he did this, because he didn't know that side of him.
Yes. It really. I mean, they talk about it in the episode, like in this series, really in general, like the bond between Anakin and Ahsoka, which we knew they had, but
No, I agree, but I think we missed because of the overlapping story. I think we missed there a lot of one-on-one time
oh yeah,
because there
absolutely.
was so much time that was passing in the Clone Wars that we didn't get to see everything.
No, definitely. There was a lot that we missed, and it was mainly in a group setting, which we saw their bond, but it would be so much stronger, with this one-on-one time.
Correct.
But they, even in this episode, they basically touched on how, later down, they touched on they're talking about the bond between the master and apprentice and how close they need to be in order for them to connect, and she said it towards the end of the episode, which I know I'm jumping, but she said at the end of the episode to Sabine, she said no matter what she did, didn't matter if she was right or wrong, Anakin had her back. throughout everything. During the court proceedings with the council, um, he was the only one who believed in her, and he had her back, even though all the evidence said that she was guilty.
Correct.
And that was kind of the turning point for Ahsoka and Sabine, because that was when Ahsoka realized she needed to be a better master, and Sabine realized that she needed to cut her some slack.
Yeah, I think that was also like the big. I mean, I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but for the most part, I was very I was very impressed with them showing Ahsoka realizing like she wasn't a good master, and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't because she's bad at it. It was because she was so worried about screwing up, which
Sure.
literally turned herself into screwing up.
Yep, it was a double edged sword, because of the fact, like you said, she was worried that she was going to screw up, and she was also worried that they also talked about it. They revealed why Sabine and Ahsoka stopped training. It was because Sabine, after the Empire purged Mandalore,
She was
uh,
worried.
She was worried she was going to fall to the dark side if she unlocked her potential. Um, which is obviously very valid. But as a good master, you would, you know, strive to do your best so that way she wouldn't seek that path. Which, like we said, Mandalorian, kind of tough, stubborn. So, but um, anyways, back
Was
to it.
this the episode? And I'm asking for this particular reason because I'm just trying to remember. Is this the one where Sabine first finds him?
So this is immediately after.
Correct. So they were talking on the little.
Yes, they were talking on the.
Ooh, sorry.
Yeah,
They were talking on the whatever you want to call it, the centipede, millipede, rollipede.
yeah,
You know what I'm
that thing.
talking about? The bug-looking houses.
Yep. Um, yeah, they're talking on that. Yep. So Ahsoka is Ahsoka gets to the ship. The Purgle arrive. They arrive in a trap set by Thrawn because he knew that Ahsoka was coming. So they get out of the Purgle. The Purgle let them escape. The Purgle disappear back into hyperspace, and
Well, you forgot about
Ahsoka.
the mines. Did you not?
They walked into the trap set by Thrawn, which
Correct.
were
Well, no, that's a big piece because
yes,
like Thrawn, granted, he didn't know exactly where they were coming from, but like he knew where they would most likely be,
mm-hmm.
and then they escaped the Purgle. Now I say it like they were trapped; they really weren't. But then the Purgle were clearing the way for them until the Purgle left, and then they were screwed.
Yep, valid. That's valid. Um, so
And and we really get to see Thrawn live action wise anyway be a
his
tactical genius.
yep, his mind.
It's just
Um,
like, okay, now that the Purgle are gone, send in the fighters.
so they are bobbing and weaving. The fighters come in, like you said. They're chasing them down. At that moment, um, Morgan Morgan comes in and reveals to Thrawn all their knowledge on Ahsoka, and that is when Thrawn learns that Ahsoka, is the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker, and you can see on his face that he goes, "Oh crap!"
Very worried. And that's
Yes.
I think for me, at least for me, I'm assuming for you as well, but I can't speak for you. This was a point where, granted, I know he respected Vader and Anakin, but like the fact that he was just like, oh, this is not going to be anything like I thought it was. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
he thought
saying?
it
Like
was,
he like from that moment he was like, I got to bring my 100% A game.
yep,
Like
he
I
thought it
can't
was just
mess
going to
around.
be. He thought she was just going to be something she can dust off, and not the case.
Correct. And
Uh,
I think for me, even though Thrawn does it in such a Thrawn way, like he was
mhm.
like kind of like, granted he's worried, but like even his worried isn't like the stereotypical worried.
He was able to keep his cool.
Yeah, I think that terrified me even more because it's like he's still scared, like he's
Yep.
nervous, but it's like we're gonna continue to do this, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna play by the seat of our pants. All right, let's do this.
So he finds out that Anakin is Ahsoka's master, and as soon as he finds that out, he says his current plan. He says, "All right, let's ditch it." He calls off the fighters, lets them go into hiding, calls in the Night Sisters or the Night Mothers. Yeah, Night Mothers. or great mothers. Is that
I
what
was
they're?
going to say,
Yeah,
I thought they were like great mothers.
yeah,
They're the
great
Night
mothers.
Sisters, but they are the grandmothers?
Great mothers.
Great mothers, thank you.
So
That would make sense because it sounds too much like grandma.
yeah, no, definitely not grandma.
Well, yeah, you're right.
So he calls in the night, then the great mothers, and tells them to seek out Ahsoka using their dark magic, and I think that's cool. Like the magic that they use to seek her out, just I thought that was awesome. So at that moment, Ahsoka, at that very same like moment when the great mothers find Ahsoka, Ahsoka is able to connect in the Force with Sabine and find Sabine's location. So once Thrawn as soon as Thrawn finds her location, he sends out a full out assault with the Chimera and the starfighters. She gets away, gets out of hiding, and goes to find Sabine, who at that moment is being surrounded by the bandits and Balin Skull and
No,
shit.
not Balin Skull.
Balin Skull is there, but
He's there, but he's literally like, I'm out.
he's watching. Yeah.
He's like, you do this, apprentice. I will
Yep.
watch.
Yep. But he was there at first and then sent them in. So that's kind of like that is going at.
Well, yeah, and he basically said to her, "You're on your own. I'm out."
Yeah, basically. But he also left her with like he cares about her because he
Well,
wanted
no,
her
he
to
gave
succeed.
her knowledge,
Yes.
in the sense of be careful what power you are going for.
Yep. So, but Balin is not gone yet because when Ahsoka first
Correct.
arrives, she lands and has one final duel with him, which was another great duel because that one she held her own a little bit more with him, but he still seems to be more powerful than her because she couldn't defeat him. She had to use a smoke bomb to get away, or not a smoke bomb. Hugh Yang made one final run after she landed
Correct.
and bombarded them so that way she could get away and go help Ezra and Sabine, who were completely surrounded by the bandit. Not the bandits were dead at this point. Completely surrounded by the stormtroopers
Yes. Yeah.
because Thrawn sent
No,
in the stormtroopers for
Night
reinforcement.
troopers.
Night troopers, yeah.
I
Okay.
know. It's a messes with me too.
Yeah. But so the night troopers, and
But can we talk about Sabine and Ezra fighting together?
what would you like to talk about?
Well, specifically the fact that Ezra was like, "Nah, I don't need a lightsaber. I'm good."
Nope.
And
The
I
Force is my
think,
ally.
yeah, and I think, and it makes sense because he's gone so long without his lightsaber
Mm-hmm.
that it would make sense that he could do it.
Yep.
But I just think for me, in that moment, I was like, is he really just gonna go bare? And then he's going toe to toe with the apprentice, with her lightsaber and without one, and he's just like being.
I loved that the art that they put on it with him blocking the lightsaber with the
Yep.
Force. You could see the Force like radiating off the lightsaber. I loved
Yes.
that.
No,
That was
no,
amazing.
100%. And here's the thing. It's not that I didn't think Ezra is powerful. I just was like, I was amazed because we don't normally see that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I mean, the last time we saw that particular thing was was in Obi-Wan, and it wasn't even it wasn't
as
as good.
correct. No, agreed.
Like, I mean, it could have
And
been
that's
the
not an
lighting kind of
insult.
situation because when Vader did that to the Inquisitor, I'm blanking on her name. Like it was in the dark,
Third
so
sister.
maybe, huh?
Third sister.
Yeah, I just forgot her name. Like
Oh,
actually,
no, I just call it third sister. It's easier.
um, like the lighting might have been different, but I mean, obviously the budget was a lot better in this show than that one. But
Yeah, but I mean, even still, I also think in a weird way, and people are going to get mad when I say this, but like, I think at this point, Ezra is so much more powerful with the Force that it would make more sense that it was more powerful. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, but Vader was the one blocking the lightsaber with the Force against her.
No, I know. I'm not arguing that.
You
Reva.
said Ezra.
No, I know. I'm saying, but
Okay.
Ezra makes sense that his would look better because he was more powerful or potentially more powerful at this point.
Oh, you're trying to say that Ezra was more powerful than Vader?
At this at this particular point with the Force, yes.
That's a take.
Oh, it's gonna be a take, and I'm okay with it. But no. What I'm saying is, I'm talking about at that particular moment. This is
No. I
years
understand.
after Vader is gone.
Yeah, I understand.
There's a lot more training. He's one with the Force now, because I would imagine his training didn't stop. The only difference is he's just not a good lightsaber fighter as much as he was before, or is at the same level.
Hmm.
Whereas the Force part, he is probably so much far more advanced because that's all he had to work with. I mean, he's protected those people from, granted, they're just bandits, but also the night troopers. Because there's no way that they haven't bumped
No,
into each other.
I'm not really arguing that. It's just it's one of it's weird because in actuality, the Vader we saw in Obi-Wan is Vader at his peak. Because that was 10 years after Order 66. That was after Vader went through all of his training to learn how to become Vader, basically, with his robotic enhancements. And like when he's going after Obi-Wan, that's like him basically at his peak.
Yeah, so maybe, you know what?
He's
I'm
killed a
comparing,
bunch of Jedi
I'm
at that
comparing
point.
apples and oranges, and it's because the
You
only time they saw each other was when Ezra was at his weakest, and Vader wasn't fully at his strongest yet.
hmm
Although I would imagine that the events of Obi-Wan had already happened, so Vader might have been past his peak.
That's also true. That's also true.
So Vader wasn't at his strongest, and Ezra definitely wasn't at his strongest for
No.
obvious reasons.
You have to also realize that at the same time you're comparing the light side of the Force to the dark side of the
That's
Force.
the other thing too. It's apples and oranges, and I can't
Yes.
really put those two together.
Like
Although Ezra
Ez-
did touch the dark side for a bit, and nothing to the extent of Vader for obvious reasons.
like Ezra is in the Force sense like Qui-Gon, where he
Okay,
is one with the Force. He is like he's touched the
100% with the
and
Force
he
now.
is in balance.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, because he's had no lightsaber, he's literally only had the Force.
Oh,
So,
I
like,
thought
he's had
okay.
to. No,
I
no,
thought
but I
you,
mean, like, I know it was a pun I wasn't prepared for. But, like, I think for me, it's like the fact that he's had to connect to it so much more because that's all he had.
yes,
And I'm very curious to see his full power.
but so like for the light side, they have to be at full peace in order to really access the full potential of the Force.
And
Which Ezra, I agree with you, is at that point. And then Vader, the
he has
more
to be in
anger he
severe
has, yeah, the more
pain and
anger he
suffering,
has, the
too.
stronger he gets. So, you know,
Yeah,
very different.
two very different things. But you understand what I'm getting at, though, that the sheer force ability that he's gained
Hmm.
because of being isolated from using anything other than the force, basically,
Yeah,
that
he's
would make
definitely
him
become a lot more powerful.
a lot more powerful. But anyway,
Back to the story. So the stormtrooper, the night troopers come. Ahsoka finally gets away from. So the night troopers come. They surround him. Shin tells them to kill them, and Ezra, in classic Ezra form, goes, "Wait, let's talk about it. Take us for
yeah,
prisoners. Don't kill us." And Sabine is just looking at him like, "You stupid," and and at that very moment. And then Shin is obviously looking at him like you stupid too. So that very moment, Ahsoka comes in, takes out a couple night troopers with the Force, and goes lightsaber combat with Shin, and she just absolutely destroys her.
which
Shin,
makes sense
yes,
for multiple reasons.
yes, Shin cannot hold her own, and with the help of Ahsoka, Sabine and Ezra are able to take out all the night troopers that had him surrounded. And
They offer Shin.
actually, no, they do not take him out. Thrawn realizes that Balin's skull is not with them; he has disappeared,
And tells him to
and
go.
he tells them to retreat. And
The
they
ones
all,
that remained.
yes, the ones that are still alive. So they retreat. They pull back. Shin is left alone. Excuse me. And Ahsoka offers Shin to come with them, and she would help her. Shin runs away, and Morgan is like, "Why are you letting them live? We can destroy them." And he said, "Well, no, we don't need to waste our time because my goal is to have Ahsoka waste the time for us to get away and leave them here. So
Mike, are you still there?
basically, that's his response for it. Huh?
I lost Mike.
Oh no, I'm here.
So,
I guess.
the big thing with Shin was she leaves. She was offered the chance to join the group, and she,
Can you hear
I
me?
don't want to say refused because that's not the best word to use, but she stopped, right? So she disappeared. So then they're ready to go and help out. You back?
I guess I didn't realize I was gone.
Yeah. So yeah, for some
So
reason you got lost. So I went into, I don't know if you heard me. Did you hear anything?
I could hear everything you were saying.
Oh, okay. So I just lost you. Okay. Well, no,
Yep.
because I was like, well, I'll continue this, and he'll eventually come back.
Yep.
So I didn't get far. Literally, they offered Shin peace, and she basically was like, nah. And that was pretty much the end of the episode.
Yep. And yep. So Thrawn. Yeah. Thrawn. They begin their chug towards
Escaping.
Thrawn.
Well,
So
well, what I was gonna say too is they're getting, yeah, they're getting ready to go towards Thrawn, but Thrawn is like, we got to get going now.
yep. And, yeah,
Which
the time to
I
go
think
is
is the closest thing we'll get to Thrawn being nervous.
yes.
Then the
So
next episode starts because I remember this.
the next
Um,
episode is
I think
called
this is the best opening because it's Ezra building his lightsaber,
yes. It was
and
very
he's telling the droid who's been doing it for eons. I would imagine millions of years at this point, and telling him how to do it, and he's like, "I've been doing this longer than you've been alive and your master combined, and your master's master." And he's just
Yep.
like, "You know my master?" And it's like, "Who's your master?" And it's like, and then that's when Sabine says it was, oh my gosh, Kanan. And
Kanan
he's
Jarrus.
yeah, thank you. And he's like, "Oh, I remember him, but back then he was just a child," and he was just like, "Oh." He's like, "Well, yeah, the order was very different back then,"
Hmm.
which is 100% fact, but it was just hilarious. And it was after the interaction that the droid actually finds the parts that he's looking for and puts it together, which I
Yep.
find to be hilarious because he's like, "You're doing it wrong. You're not doing it right. You're not doing it." And then he's like, "Okay, we'll do it your way."
Yep. And I don't know if you realize this, but the piece that he was looking for is a replication of that made it a replication of Kanan's lightsaber.
So, yes. So, I wasn't 100% sure because it's tough. Like, it was tough to see it. Like, all right, so hear me out on this. So, like, I get it because it did look like his lightsaber, but live action to animation, it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it.
Well, I mean, yeah,
No,
it
no, no,
wasn't
no,
the
no,
same,
but you understand what I'm
like,
saying? Like, I got that, but I wasn't 100% sure on it.
yeah. It's
But it
yeah,
makes sense. And it
especially
and
because they
obviously,
put the piece on.
yeah, that and the blue, too.
Hmm. So before we continue, I just want to point out that the episode name of this episode's name was "The Jedi, the Witch, and the Wardrobe."
Yes, which was a play on. It's a play on a very
Yeah.
very popular book, The
Yes.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yes.
Well, you paused and was like, I don't like you didn't get it, and I was like,
Oh
oh,
no! Sorry, sorry. I like space. I was expecting you to like finish it, and you didn't. So
well, no, I was like, well, no, because I was kind of like, oh, he doesn't get it,
yeah,
or like I for some reason it just the look you gave me made me think you didn't understand it.
no.
Anyway,
My
I
I was expecting you to say the book name. I apologize.
yeah, so the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord, and the Witch was not who I was expecting, to be honest with you.
Mm.
I thought they were talking about the three great mothers.
Yeah, and who were they talking about?
They were talking about Morgan.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, because the whole idea is it's like they didn't say the witches, they said
Yeah.
the witch, which
Yep.
makes so in the beginning of the episode I was thinking, oh, they're talking about the Night Sisters, meaning
Oh,
like
okay.
like
Ye-
collectively as a whole the witch, because
Yeah.
it was like a play on the book, not
Yep.
realizing that no, they meant Morgan.
Yeah, they were talking about
Morgan specific,
Yeah,
and so
that's
it was literally oh my gosh, it was
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. I don't know why I blanked on her name. That's the name of the show.
Ahsoka,
Ahsoka,
Morgan, and
Morgan, and Thrawn.
yes.
And yeah, no, we get to see all three of them. I don't want to say at their best because I don't think we're even at their peak yet, but definitely in the best of the season for sure. The three of them.
Well, yeah, I think definitely Morgan is at her peak because she in this
Well,
episode she got
yeah.
her. Well, I mean, in actuality, she became more powerful than ever because of the night sister, the Great Mother's giving her the power.
Which is a weird ceremony that we're going to talk about in a minute.
Yes.
So the first thing that happens is they're on the group, Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra are and the droid are on the ship together, and they finish his lightsaber, and then they're attacked,
Yep. Yep.
and the ship gets I don't want to say destroyed because that's not the right word, but heavily damaged because they aimed
Yeah.
specifically for the engines, I believe.
Yes.
The reason why I'm saying it that way is because I think Thrawn purposely told them where to hit.
Thrawn told him to slow them down.
Correct. And that's when Ahsoka and Ezra leave the ship, and the droid and Sabine are still on it, and she's trying to get it to work, and the droid's basically saying, "You're not going to get much power," and she's like, "I don't need much power. I know what I'm doing." And she literally gets a burst of energy to go forward, smashes into the two TIE fighters that went after them, and then crashed.
Yes.
And this scene was a little sad for me anyway, because um, it was like a sacrificing moment, right? It was kind of a moment where the droid's like, "Okay, I'll work on the ship," and she's like, "Well, get it ready before we leave." He goes, "It might not be, so don't wait for me. Do what you need to do." And
Yep.
I know it's a droid, but that droid has lived on longer than Yoda. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
I don't. I think we forget that piece, and I don't mean you specifically, but in general, like this droid's like, "No, you guys need to do what you need to do. I'll fix the ship if I get it done in time. Great. If not, I'm content."
Yeah. I mean, he's you know. I mean, hey, the point at the end of the day, his programming is to help the Jedi. So if that means,
Sacrificing himself, he does so.
yep, absolutely.
So then the three of them are riding into the distance, and the part that confuses me is they're not really attacked on their
No,
way
because
in.
Because at that point, Thrawn is like, okay, they won't be able to make it in time because
And they
they'll
do.
and they do, and that's when Thrawn is like, okay, we're gonna give them he called it Hellfire. Is that what he called it?
No, this is too early.
Well, when they arrived, because when they were charging in with the wolves, um,
I didn't think they were. Were they opening fire at that point? I didn't even think they were. I
yeah,
thought
no,
they
no,
were
no,
just closing the temple door.
they were doing it at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Because they were closing the temple door, and that's when they start charging in because they realize that they might not make it inside. So when they do that, Thrawn is like,
One barely made it.
well, yeah. All three of them were using the Force to try to hold the door up, which I don't know.
That's right.
And that's when at that moment Thrawn is shooting down with the guns from the ship. And when they make it inside, you see how pissed Thrawn is.
Now, not to be a jerk, but it wasn't holding it up, it was holding it open because it closed like this. No, I'm just because. Well, no, because it paints a different picture.
You're right. You're right.
So then they get in, and then Morgan gets a squadron of troops who are ready to sacrifice their lives for the Empire.
For Thrawn.
Yes, but specifically, like he makes it like for the Empire.
Yep.
And
Because Morgan says they're willing to give their lives up for you, and he says no, it's not for me, it's for the Empire.
correct. No. I know, but it's the reason why I said it that way was for that reason. Like Thrawn's like, it's not for me. We do it for the Empire.
Yep.
And it's like the Empire doesn't exist anymore, but I guess with him it does.
Well, it does.
No, I know, but it's just it's funny to hear.
Yes.
And then so the three of them are bombarded by night troopers, and I think it was a cool sequence to see the blue, white, and green lightsabers.
It was.
And they basically take them out with ease. I mean, it looked like they were more trying to dodge blaster fire than they were like taking him out. But they took him out with ease too. They were all knocked down, dead, um, and they start going up the stairs.
And that
While
is when the Night Sisters.
Thrawn asks the Night Sisters for their magic one more time. And which makes me laugh because he says it every time one more time, and it is always another time. There's always. I don't know if he understands the irony of it or if he just doesn't care, but they're like, we'll do this. And they resurrect all the Night Troopers that died. And they become undead.
Which was insane.
Yeah, but there's even more insane stuff coming.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, they're now realizing that these guys can't die. And they're asking Ezra, have you ever seen this before? He's like, nope, not at all. This is new. And their only way of really defeating them is shutting the door.
Yeah.
And then they blast through it, and they're like, oh, we got to keep doing this. Like, so they start knocking down door after door after door, and they go up. So during this time of, like, the running away, which I really like the Halloween theme of it, even though I don't think that was their main objective, it just worked with the Night Sisters, let's be honest.
Absolutely.
It was during this where Morgan gets the ceremony of the darkness? No. Of the soul? No, what was it called?
Oh, I forget.
Spirits? You know what I'm talking about, though.
I know.
It was a very specific phrase they used.
Yeah.
We are giving you the power of the... It wasn't darkness. I want to say spirits.
I think it was spirits.
Something's telling me spirits. But anyway, not the main point of the story.
Yep.
They're like, do you accept it for all of it? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yes. And all they do is just put their hands on their eyes and then, like, move around a little bit. And it burns their skin. Well, it looks like it burns their skin.
Marks them.
Yeah, it definitely marks them. But it gives off the idea of it being burning, which I think changes it a little bit in my mind because it's more of it's that sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not meant to be pleasant.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
meant
She's giving herself up for the magic of the Night Sisters.
And then they create this sword or bring in this sword. I'm not quite sure. One of the two.
Yeah, they give her a sword, which has a huge amount of significance, which at this very moment I am very blanking on, but
It's basically, I would say, and we can argue this after I say it, but it's like the Night Sisters equivalent to a lightsaber.
yeah, we'll go with that.
I mean, it's much more complex than that, but I think that's the best way to describe it for now. It's basically a sword that's infused with all the dark energy, or the spirit energy that the Night Sisters can control.
Yes.
But it's in the shape of a sword, and it emulates like the green magic around it. So it's like I said, it's their equivalent to a lightsaber. And the reason why I say that is because it doesn't get cut down by a lightsaber.
It can hold its own.
Yeah, we don't know how long it can resist it for, but in general, it can go like Veskar armor or Veskar metal. It can at least resist it at the very least.
Yep.
So then, Thrawn is now realizing that they're running out of time, and he's like, "We're going to need more time." And Morgan, without hesitating, goes, "I understand," and leaves. And that's when she comes out to stop the three of them. And Ashoka goes, "You guys go, I got her." And that's when the two of them run, and Ashoka goes toe-to-toe with Morgan, who is a huge threat right now for multiple reasons. She's overpowered, and she was a skilled fighter before this anyway. I mean, she was able to go toe-to-toe with Ashoka with just a Veskar spear.
Yep.
Now
season 2, she held her own, and now in this one, she's basically got a buff.
Yes, 100%.
Yep. And Ahsoka's really struggles, especially once the Night Troopers finally catch up.
Correct, but there's a piece that happens before that. Can we talk about what Ezra and Sabine fought? Because I have my own thoughts on what they were. What were they to you?
Death Troopers.
Agreed. They were Death Troopers, but literally dead troopers.
Yeah, literal
So
Death
here's
Troopers.
my question, because they were different than... Well, we can't say that. We don't know how different they were.
Yeah, we didn't really see them talking. We only saw them once the mask got taken off, and then one of them was trying to eat the other one.
Yeah, because their magic was different. Because once they got hit in the head, they were dead, dead.
Yeah,
Which is the
yeah,
part that which makes me think they were obviously different than the others.
yeah. I don't really know how that one fully worked because, like you said, they seemed living, and then like they just like one thing happened and it just like snapped and they turned into the zombies. But one of them was like so decayed that it looked like he was already dead.
Well, I'm thinking they were already dead.
Oh, you do.
I thought they were already dead going into this,
Mm-hmm.
and that they were brought back by the Night Sisters, right? At some
Mm-hmm.
point, I would imagine a while ago,
Yeah.
um, and they were kept alive for that reason. Well, alive. They were kept animated for that
Yeah.
long. And I
So
think the
yeah,
part that killed me was I just don't understand, and this is just the part that confuses me, is the to the head ended it. You know what I'm saying? Like Sabine uses the Force for the first time that we see, gets the lightsaber and it
yep.
kills the Dark Trooper, and I think that confused me because if they were undead, it's on magic. It's you know what I mean. They shouldn't have died.
Well, I mean, they're still zombies, and zombies is always
Are they though? I think it's weird because I think we don't know. I think we're going on zombie rules.
that's how I'm going off of. It's
Okay, fair
going
enough.
off of zombie rules
But I
because
feel like
obviously that's
the night troopers were hit in the head, and they were still coming up.
no. Anytime that they got their head chopped off, they were dead.
Oh, you know what? Maybe there were so many of them. I just thought they all got up.
They ended up getting like hit in the chest with the lightsaber, and they were still moving. They had blaster bolts reflected and hit them in the chest. But anyone that had their hit in the head, they were done.
Okay. No, and that's fine as long as there was a consistency to it. I just didn't see it.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think there were just so many dark night troopers that I thought they just all rose up from everything.
No, no, they did not.
All right.
Uh,
Well, anyway,
no,
no
I
big deal
understand.
on that one.
Like,
But you get what I'm saying. Like that was the first time we saw verbatim that was a definite headshot and they're dead.
yes, yes, no, I
Um,
totally understand what you were saying. What you're saying with that, it was very tough to tell. But no, anyone that was hit in the head was dead, dead, in any form. You know, they
and
just
then
didn't hit them in the head that much.
so then Sabine and Ezra are now freed, and Thrawn is already leaving. Now they're in distance, and Sabine basically tells him, "You jump, and I'll push." And
Ezra's like,
Ezra's like, Ezra's like, I don't think this is gonna go well. Like, I'm not gonna do it. And she's like, the longer you wait, the harder this is gonna be. And he's like, I don't want to say he was like fine, like whatever, but at this point he was like, it is now or never. So
yeah,
then he does the force jump, and then she does the force push, which I was impressed and surprised at the same time. Now, obviously, his jump was better than her push, which should have been the case to begin with.
yep,
I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that she should have been able to push him as far as he jumped. No, I just like the fact that he barely made it.
yep,
Like
yep,
he
yep.
would have made it if he would have done it when she told him to.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wouldn't have had any issue. He would have landed on the
Yes.
ship. And the fact that he waited as long as he did, he barely made it. And he gets up there and takes out the night trooper. Sorry, takes out the night troopers that were on the hangar. Is that what you would call that? The hangar?
The hanger. Yep, the hanger. Yep.
Yeah. Um, and then he tells Sabine to hurry up because he'll get her up there, and she sees her master fighting for her life against Morgan and the night
The night
troopers,
troopers.
and
And she chooses to stay behind.
well, so this is the I think this is very cool that it's obvious what she goes for, but we don't see her make the choice.
Yeah, we just see her start running.
I don't even think we see her run. It
No,
literally
we
goes
do.
back. We do,
No, no, we see
but we don't
her.
know what direction.
She's looking in one direction. We were assuming she was looking at Ahsoka and the night troopers.
and
So
then
we see
turned and
her
ran.
looking, turn and run, but we don't know what the direction. So we
No,
assume that's
correct. All right. I'll agree to that. My point I was making is we don't know what decision she made. We know she
yes,
made a decision,
yeah.
but we don't know what. And so Ahsoka's now fighting for her life, and that's when Sabine comes in.
Ahsoka ends up getting knocked down, and Morgan tells her this is the end for you, and that's when Sabine makes her appearance and starts help evening the odds.
Yes.
Um,
And can we talk about how sad it was for Morgan to die?
I
I
mean,
was, I was disappointed. I mean, here's the thing: they just gave her that boost in power, but it made sense because it's not like Thrawn's dead, because Thrawn is the real bad guy.
she had to die. I mean, at the end
Well,
of the
I
day,
mean, it was a suicide mission to begin with.
yes, she was either getting left behind, which at that point is death, or
Correct. She was dying.
she, yeah,
She was
like,
dying. Like she was going to be instant death, like or
yes.
immediate death. I shouldn't say instant death, but immediate death.
So, obviously Ahsoka beat her, but the mission at the end of the day was that she was meant to stall them out.
And she does. She's successful.
Yeah,
I will
she
say.
was basically successful. After they kill all the night troopers and Morgan,
Can
Hugh
we talk
Yang
about though
arrives.
how Morgan died? Because I think there's a significance we're missing here. So she's died by one. So first off, she cuts one of Ahsoka's lightsabers
Yeah,
and destroys it.
yeah,
And Ahsoka gets her sword in the fight, and then uses both and cuts her in half. Well, not fully in half, but like
cuts her
cuts
in the
her.
side.
Did you notice that both slices were like burned? Like they both cut like a lightsaber.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I just find that interesting because it's still a blade.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just going off I was going off the assumption that it was, like you said, it was the Night Sister equivalent of a lightsaber, so I just took it as the same thing. The possession that they did with it, I just, in my head, immediately was it's a lightsaber. Even I know it's not, but it was just
No,
that's
no,
how I
no, no.
equate.
That's fair. No, and that's how I described it earlier. Was it's their version of a lightsaber, but I thought it was
Yes.
cool that they even showed it cut like a lightsaber into
Hmm.
somebody, which I thought was really cool. And then she died.
Definitely. And then she died.
And
But
then the
before
Night Sisters and Thrawn know that she's dead.
yes, the Great Mothers tell her that she's dead, and he said, "Well, this was it was um,
She was successful.
a necessary sacrifice."
Yes, but he also said she did what she was supposed to do. Like it
Yes.
was more of an honor thing. It wasn't like by no means was he like disappointed that she died.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I mean he was, but I mean like it 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 was most likely going to happen.
So at that
And I
moment,
think the night the mothers knew. The mothers knew, but I think it was one of those things where it's like they felt when it happened.
yeah, I mean they felt it happen, and they told Thrawn. So,
And then the way this ends is we get to see everybody's story end. Now, when I say end, I mean end for the season,
yep,
which I think is really cool.
yep.
Ahsoka and
As
Sabine are in.
you're missing the part where, as they're getting away, Hugh Yang arrives with the ship, and they go chasing after Thrawn, as he's trying to get on the ship, so that way he can't get to that they can get away as well.
Oh, you're right. I am missing an
And
important piece.
And as they are trying to escape, Thrawn is talking to Ahsoka and telling her how he knows she is Anakin's apprentice, and
He hopes she doesn't
you know,
turn anything like.
huh?
Doesn't he like make a hint of like hopefully you don't turn out like him?
Something like that. But at the same time, he was more. That whole rant was all saying like how, because you were Anakin's apprentice, I already know everything that you were gonna do. As soon as I learned that every move that you made, I knew you were gonna make it because that's what Anakin would do. He said, I have great respect for Anakin, and it was great that I got the chance to fight you. But I am getting away, and you, unfortunately, we will probably never see each other again because he's under the assumption that they're going to be trapped there forever.
I do like though he goes, we never saw each other in person, and probably never will.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.
Yep.
Bingos.
And they jump into
Um,
hyperspace and they go flying back.
all right, so now we're going to talk about. So I want to leave Thrawn for last.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Thrawn was the first or the second end we saw, I want to talk about him last because I have some questions about where he is.
Okay. I mean, they tell us
Okay?
where he is.
I know, but I don't know what that is.
Okay.
There's a significance to it, and I know it's a significant place. I don't remember it. So anyway,
Okay.
we're doing it last for that reason.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about Ezra, who is captured by the Republic in a transport ship. Is
An
that what it's called? A
imperial
transport?
transport ship.
Yeah, an imperial
Or
transport ship.
imperial shuttle.
Fine, but either way, it's imperial.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes out in a night trooper
And
outfit
yep.
and in a full on just homage to Rebels, in my personal opinion. And Chopper is the only one who knows who it is,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is the funniest thing of all, because Hera has her like thoughts, but like she's not 100% sure. Chopper is just like do 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 do.
Well, no, Hera was ready to blast him.
Well, correct. No, no, agreed. But then Chopper comes in and he touches Chopper, and I was expecting more of a back and forth, but I think it's been so long that Chopper was just happy to see him.
Definitely. Oh, definitely.
And then he takes off the helmet.
And they just and Hera's like, Ezra. I mean, I'll be a little upset. I was expecting some kind of embrace, but it was just kind of a stare down, which is fine.
I was also kind of surprised he didn't like say Thrawn's back, but I'm wondering if she took the two together. Like
I
he's in an
see.
imperial, he's in an imperial shuttle. He's in a stormtrooper outfit. To her, it's a stormtrooper. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And that must mean Thrawn's here, or
Yeah.
Thrawn's got to be close. There's no
Yeah.
way that he would have done all this if Thrawn didn't exist. So I think
agree.
she's more terrified than she is happy, even though
Mhm.
she is very happy.
Yes, I agree.
So that's the end of that story. So then we have Ahsoka and Sabine going back to the village of the snail people. Why'd you go like that?
Because it was so touching.
And I like how the ship is right behind them. They're riding, and then the ship's behind them.
Yep.
And so they join the group, I guess you would say. They're
The turtle
basically the
people.
new Ezra.
Yeah.
And then we have Shin. Is that how you say her name?
They're with the turtle people. They're off looking. They're seeing the distance, talking about what their next step is going to be.
Oh, that's right. They see something. Well,
The
Sabine sees
owl.
something.
Sabine senses something.
The
Ahsoka
owl
sees
there.
the owl there, so she knows that she's protected, obviously, because the owl follows her everywhere. Because that is the embodiment of the light side of the Force. And as they turn away to walk back to the village, we see an Anakin Skywalker Force ghost looking over his Padawan.
Well, here's the other thing, though. I think you're missing is Sabine senses it, but also sort of sees him.
I
She's
don't
like,
think
"Oh, I
she.
thought it." I think she does. She sees his outline. I think she sees something of him because she goes, "Oh, I think it's the shadows playing a trick on me."
Okay, that's possible.
It was the
I mean,
phrasing that she used. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the phrasing that she used that made me go, "Hmm." Like I don't think she saw it fully for sure.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely, granted, even if she saw who it was, she wouldn't have known who he was anyway. But I think she saw it she knew it was a person. Like you know how when you look in the distance and you kind of see something, and then
Yep.
you think it's a mirage. I think that's what she saw. And the Ahsoka looks, and she realizes that no, it wasn't. But she doesn't say anything, and she sees Anakin.
Yeah,
She for sure sees Anakin. There's
I
no
think
way
she
she
does.
doesn't.
yeah, I think she does.
I mean, she does. She plays off that she doesn't. I will say that,
Um, but yeah,
which I did like.
loved that. I loved that. I thought that was a great ending. Like,
Yeah, and I'm wondering too. It makes me question everything. in this, and not in a bad way, but like, no. I mean, like, so was she really in the world between worlds? You know what I mean? Like, so is his home? Is everybody who's in the Force like in the world between worlds? Like, when you become one with the Force, is that where you go?
Well, oh, excuse me. Um, well, if you remember, like I said, I don't necessarily know if if she was actually in the world between worlds. It could have been a dream
That
because
is
when we
true.
found
We
her,
did
she
talk
was in
about
the
that.
water.
Correct. And the
So
only place that would make sense to her mentally, because he would be able to read her thoughts, would
mhm,
be to make that the scenario so she would then think it was more real.
yes. Um, now,
Yeah.
granted,
We don't know.
I am definitely in the impression that Anakin is the father, because he is the light
I,
and the dark, and he is
I,
the keeper of balance.
so okay. So then we're going to talk about Shin, and then we got to talk about Balin, because
Yep,
what you just said leads us into Balin,
leads
which I'm a
into it.
little
Yep.
pissed off about, but it's not their fault. I'm pissed off that he has like a great storyline, and he like, and
A,
it's just,
a
and it's nobody's fault, obviously,
no,
but it just sucks because it's like the only way they can do it now is either they kill him off screen, which would really suck, or they
or they
recast
recast.
it, which would re-suck, which would also suck. And again, it would be better because it wouldn't be as bad, but
Mm-hmm.
it would just it depends on what they do. But anyway, so Shin goes with
The
the
bandits.
bandits and joins them. And then we have Balin, who's on this mountain that has the father, the son, and technically the daughter.
The daughter is destroyed.
The daughter's head is destroyed, correct, which
Hmm.
is a huge point of like the Clone Wars.
Yep. So he's looking out into the distance. There's into the mountains. There's a
Well,
light
no,
beam.
no, no. There's a very specific reason why he's looking over there.
Yep. There is a
He's
signal.
standing on the he's standing on the finger of the father
Yep.
and looking out to where he's pointing.
Yep. But if you in the distance, there is a like a beacon. There's a light beacon on top of one of the mountains.
Yes, but realistically, the only reason why he's looking is because of where the father's pointing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
obviously, it's obvious where he needs to go, but yeah, it just sucks because the actor's dead, and the character. First off, he did an excellent job, no
oh,
question there. The character was well written. The character was well done. So complex.
it was a great final send off for him.
100%. It just sucks.
It really does. But
I hope that
there's
I would imagine that he was going to be like the main point of season 2 for
yes.
them to get out of there, which really to me sucks
Hmm. So there's a
because
so one of my friends mentioned that an idea for a recast for him would be the actor who played Sabretooth.
you told me this.
I
Here's
did.
the thing. I'm not arguing that the guy could do it. Now wait, which Sabretooth? You're talking about the one from X Men
Origin.
Origins?
Yeah.
Okay, good. No, I have to ask because there is two.
Yes, but that one no,
Yeah,
I wasn't considering that one.
no, that's fair. Um, so here's the thing. Uh, he could 100% do it, and I would think he would do an excellent job. But I think it's going to be tough because it could go two ways, right? Like it's really messed up that they would recast him because the actor did such a great job. But I understand it. I wouldn't be mad about it necessarily. Like I because it was a one time like it was only for one season. If this goes on for longer, you know what I'm saying? It would make more sense. I don't know how long. I don't know what their idea is for this character, but this character obviously has a big story,
Hmm.
or at least a major point in the story that it has to be told.
Yes.
So
So
I don't know. I'm on the fence.
so
I think I'd have to see it.
so here is the running theory at the moment. The the being that is calling out to Balin is called Aberoth, I believe. Is how you pronounce her. So she is essentially, in Legends context, she is known as the Mother. She was the mother. It was the mother, the father, the son, and the daughter.
No,
The mother ended no, no
I got the
the
hint.
mother the mother ended up getting corrupted by something that turned her basically to the dark side, and it wasn't like the sun sense, it was like pure evil. So she got corrupted and turned into Aberoth. So the theory is that she, after her daughter fell, she destroyed her daughter's statue. And the father and the son are still there, and that is who Balin is seeking out.
He's seeking out her, not the father and the son.
Huh?
He's seeking out the mother.
Yes.
Okay.
He is seeking out
No,
Aberoth.
no. That's. I just want to make sure I understood because I was like, for a second there, I thought you meant he was looking for the father and the son. I was like, okay, no, that makes more sense. That and it would explain why the daughter was destroyed because a lot of the other stuff we've seen of the three of them portrayed, the daughter still exists, painting or statue-wise.
Yep.
So it makes sense that somebody who knew that she was gone destroyed it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
That'd be really cool.
So that's the that's the running theory. Obviously, we don't know. Obviously, Balin still has a factor.
And Ahsoka's there, and Ahsoka's the daughter,
Yep.
essentially. I mean,
And essentially, Anakin is there because we just saw him as a Force ghost.
but is Anakin the son though?
No, Anakin's the father.
That's right. He took on the mantle of the father.
We do not know who the son is. A lot of people are thinking it's going to be Balin, but I don't think it's Balin because Balin doesn't seem like a full dark. Like he's not fully embraced.
It wouldn't
the dark
make
side.
sense. No offense, Anakin would be more the son than Balin would be.
Yeah, but
Again, not that it makes more sense. He's the father because he's been both. But you get what I'm saying. I wonder who it would be. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah. Well, maybe he becomes the son.
it's
Because
possible.
if he goes for the mother who is corrupted by pure evil,
Mm-hmm.
it would only make sense that that power he gains from her is pure evil. Now he's not the son, but the power he seeks could make him the son.
It's true. It's very true. You are correct with that.
I mean, I agree with you. Definitely now, no. For sure, no, he's not the son. Based on what he is now, no.
Yeah.
But if your theory is correct, right, she is the embodiment of evil. She's not son evil. She is worse than that.
Yeah.
Would then mean that she could corrupt him to make him her
It's
son.
possible. No, you're right. You are right. She could
But
corrupt
why
him.
would she? I don't know. Does she love her kids? I mean, we don't know. We don't know her. We really don't know her. I would imagine she loves her kids.
I don't think she does because in Legends continuity, the father, the son, and the daughter imprison her because she is too dangerous.
Oh no, she definitely loves her kids. Then loves them enough for death.
she
She
loves them to death.
I love them to death, and they're dead. I'll make sure of it. I love my children to death, and then she kills them. Which would make sense why she would then corrupt him to make him more powerful to eliminate the last shred of what's left of her daughter.
True.
Because
Yeah,
Ahsoka is all that's left of her daughter.
Yep. Ahsoka. Yeah. Ahsoka is the light. So yes.
Interesting. All right, that's a good one.
So you still upset about ending on Thrawn?
No, I'm not upset. I felt like I should have known the location that they stated, and I didn't understand it. I'm not mad about it. Like, I know he had to have gone somewhere that was of importance, but I didn't. What is it?
Dathomir.
You're an ass. What is it?
What do you mean? What it? Oh, you don't. Oh, it's the home world of the Night Sisters.
Thank you. I literally could not. I knew it was of importance, meaning like I knew the name of it. Meaning like the name sounded familiar, and I'm like, all right, it's got to be something. What is it?
I did.
And
You never
no,
said you
I
knew
said
the
I didn't
name.
know what it was. I said I didn't know what it was.
If you said you knew the planet and you didn't know what it was, I would have told you. You just
Oh
said
no
you
no!
didn't
Like
know
I
what
knew
it
it was a
was.
planet, and I knew it was of importance. But like I, when they said the name, I was like, the name sounds familiar. I just don't know it.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Dathomir is the homeworld of the Night Sisters.
Okay, now that makes more sense.
I hate
That
you.
was it. No, that was. Oh, you're mad at me? I made it very
Yes.
clear. You know what? In the comments, did I make it clear or not? Because I
No.
think I very much did. That
No, you didn't.
uh, anyway. So that's cool.
I you made it under the impression that you didn't know the location. You didn't know. So I was like, okay,
I
it's
didn't know
Dathomir.
it.
It's
I
Dathomir.
didn't know it. It was a planet. It existed. They said the name, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty.
If
Like
you
that's it.
told me you knew the name but didn't know why it was important, I
But
would
I couldn't
have.
remember the name because it didn't. No, meaning like when I remember them saying the name, and I remember it ringing a bell, but it was a bell that didn't ring. Like it was like I see it moving, like in the distance, like ding, like, but I don't hear nothing. Like I'm like, ah, I should know it. I don't know it.
Well, there you go.
All right, that's how it ends. All right. Apparently he's at the Night Sisters' old planet.
Oh wow. Okay, so
All
yes,
right.
this could lead to a season two. I personally think they're going to greenlight a season two. There's talks. They don't know if there's going to be a season two, but I definitely think there was a season two. This was, like I said, no episode missed in this show. There was not like they were.
No, I agree.
No show was bad. Like in actuality, the first and the last were probably the weakest, but they were still great.
So, okay, I will agree that seven was probably was it seven or six? No, it was seven.
Seven was the episode that we started this podcast off with.
Yeah, I forget which one was my favorite.
The three best episodes was 4, 5, and 6. 4
Oh,
was
you know what? No, you're right. You're right. I'm mixing up the numbers because they, to me, it's tough, right? Because they blend in so well.
they really
There's
do.
really there's really no like stop and end point.
No.
Like for the most part, these episodes go so well together that what I think is like episode seven is actually episode six. You know what I'm saying? Like I definitely did like the
They
world
they
between.
they had the flow so well.
Oh, 100%. The world between worlds, I think might take the cake for me, which I think was five.
That was the one in theaters.
Yes, that one for me was just cinematically phenomenal. Great storytelling without. This is gonna sound so weird when I say this, but it was a storytelling episode without really any talking.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was. That is so difficult to do on its own, and the fact that they did it in a Star Wars show and in like the past and present, like almost like a Ebenezer Scrooge type of thing, like a Christmas Carol thing, was done so well and not cheesy
Mm-hmm.
because it could have really gone bad.
Oh, it could have. Absolutely.
And it was just beautifully told, beautifully done, and like a story and a lesson was told without it blatantly being like, "Hey, do this."
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, they did great.
And honestly, I think it made Anakin better.
Oh, absolutely. Finally Anakin got a live
This,
action.
so I think Obi-Wan made Vader better,
Mm-hmm.
meaning like showing his Vaderness. I guess the best way to
Yeah.
put it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although we can argue like Rogue One a little bit. The end of Rogue One.
Oh, like the potential of
Yeah.
Vader. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And then no, I'm like kind of like showing how badass he is, right? And then in this one we get to see the more Anakin side, where Anakin wasn't a bad master like we originally thought.
I mean, I never thought Anakin was a bad master because when we saw him in Clone Wars, he still had that great. They had that great bond.
No,
We
what
just
I
saw
mean,
it more in this.
what I mean by that is it's like to me he really wasn't her master in Clone Wars, or like hear me out. let me go further into this because it's how I'm saying it is not how I mean it. Compared to all the other masters, right? Anakin really wasn't the teaching type, the stereotypical teaching type, right?
Yeah.
So, based on that knowledge, right? Because we saw how all the other masters did it, it was considered his way of doing it was not the right way.
Yes.
And so in Clone Wars, that's how it looked.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Ahsoka, we see that his way was different, but it was different because of she was different.
True. I'll give you
Like
that.
he chose, like we thought it was just his personality was why he, and it might have been a little bit because that's why they were such a great master and apprentice. But I think seeing in Ahsoka that he planned it this way, meaning like he planned his master way based on her more than what he wanted,
Yeah.
which I think changes my perspective on him as a master. In fact, I think he's one of the better ones now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we talked about this. He had a teacher in an environment that they had never taught him in way before.
Yep.
He had a teacher to be a soldier versus a keeper of the peace.
Correct.
So everything that they did in the past had to be thrown out the window, and they were basically learning on the fly. So
Agreed. And he did an excellent job, whether or not we knew it at the time. Because I think for me, I would say no. I think it worked for Ahsoka in Clone Wars, but I think in my mind I took it as more luck. Where in Ahsoka we learned it wasn't luck; he did it on purpose,
yes.
which I think was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a big plus on making me like Anakin more, without a doubt.
No, definitely.
All right, so
But
that's
the end of season 1. Great episode, great series. I definitely rank this. The series as a whole, I gave it like a 9 out of 10.
Do you think it's the best Star Wars show? I know, tough. I think it hasn't been on long enough to know. Because I think right now, The Mandalorian, the last season wasn't as good. So we automatically want to say yes. But season 1 and 2 were bangers.
So I think Ahsoka is better than season 1 and 2 of Mando. But I don't know if it's better than Andor.
You know what? I'm okay with that. I for sure was going to say it was in the top 2.
Definitely.
Like it wasn't, and it was funny is, it's fighting Andor, but it's just so different that
They are all different shows completely, so they're all
yeah, and
different.
it's really hard to compare them. Like it's definitely the top 3 are obviously Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and
Andor.
Andor. Thank you. But they're all so different. Andor is people. Mandalorian is obviously the Mandalorians, and Ahsoka is the Jedi. You know what I'm saying? So it's like 3 very different stories, and you really can't compare them. And they were all done so well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I understand. Like I'm taking just season 1 of Mandalorian right now, right? Because we're gonna go Andor season 1, Ahsoka season 1, and Mandalorian season 1. Phenomenal.
Yep.
All phenomenal. But I personally can't compare them.
No, they definitely cannot. So if we're gonna go off of season 1, then I definitely think Andor and Ahsoka. Mandalorian season 1 was great. I personally think season 2 was better.
Okay.
If off of my memory, so I
Well,
have to
the
watch.
reason why I did that was because I'm going off of because they're all season 1s. You have to
Yes.
compare the season 1s.
You are
And I
correct.
think realistically, Mandalorian made those shows.
Oh, definitely.
So for obvious reasons, Mandalorian was the parent of everything, and I think it's going to be like for a long time for me anyway. It's going to be more nostalgic. Like this is the reason for everything we get.
Well, Andor, you can't really consider that because that one's just like completely different universe.
Well,
kind of
hear
thing.
me out. They wouldn't have done a show if Mandalorian wasn't successful.
Okay, I'll give you that. That's
I'm
fair.
not saying the story wise obviously is from Rogue One. I agree with you on that one. But what I'm getting at is they would if a live action Star Wars show was not successful, they would have never tried any of this stuff.
That's true. You're right.
Now, granted, have they gone beyond Mandalorian? 100%. Meaning, like they've gone into stories that have been excellent.
Hmm.
Some better than others, obviously, but the main three are definitely Andor, Ahsoka, and Mandalorian.
Yes,
Um,
but
but yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what comes out next. For right now, I think the next one is Acolyte.
acolytes. Yep, which is
Acolyte.
supposedly is supposed to be taking place 1,000 years, I believe, before the events of Phantom Menace.
Yes.
Um,
Or was it 1,000 years before the Republic was made?
no, before
No, a
Phantom
thousand
Menace.
years before Phantom Menace. Do you know who the lead character is?
No,
The lead male
I,
actor? Have you ever
I
seen Squid
honestly
Game?
haven't heard. I haven't heard anything about it. I just that's all I know about it is 1,000 years before Phantom Menace.
Oh no, they showed us they showed a picture on them on set.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were. So I think production's been halted for obvious reasons,
Hmm.
because of the strikes. But there was a scene that they showed, and it was literally just a photo. So we don't get context. We don't even know. We know they were in costume, but we don't know if they were positioned the way they were supposed to be, or if it just so happened they were like just waiting for like the next action. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
The main actor, it looks like, is going to be the guy who was the lead actor of Squid Games.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I was very surprised by that because I didn't know he knows. Um, I didn't know he knew other languages.
Oh, yeah. He could have learned.
Oh, I'm not arguing that. I mean, honestly, it doesn't mean that he didn't already know English before that anyway. I just know him from the Korean show, which was phenomenal, and he
Yep.
did an excellent job actor wise. And he's playing like basically a police officer for the Republic.
Oh, okay, cool.
He's the one. Supposedly, the rumor is, and I know we've talked about this before, but you know how it's supposed to be like we find out the Night Sisters.
Yep.
He's supposed to be the one that like investigates it and finds them. Supposedly.
Oh, okay.
But
Interesting.
again, this is all rumors until for sure
Until
we
it
know
actually
what's going
comes
on.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we are now because we spent over an hour on that. I'm not surprised, but we got to move on.
We
So
have to move.
Invincible season two, Invincible season two. That trailer was bonkers. They don't want Invincible to be joining any of the fights because they're worried he's going to be turning into his dad.
Yep.
And
He's
then,
getting arrogant.
huh?
He's getting arrogant.
Well, this is the thing that confuses me. I don't think it's him.
I agree. I also don't think it's him. Because it seems like this is going to be diving into the multiverse.
Well, they
So
do. They do dive
they-
into the
they
multiverse.
do. So I think it's going to be another variant of him who becomes more like his father instead of the one that we see, and he's the one who takes over. Or that's my guess. It could be obviously something else, but
No, I agree with you. So it's unclear from the trailer, like exactly how things happen, but they make it look in the trailer that Invincible goes from good guy to his dad.
yep,
That's what they alluded to, right? But there's like speckles of like hinting at multiverse. Like, oh, look at all these other dimensions, right?
yep,
Which we knew other dimensions existed anyway, but I don't think the idea of the multiverse didn't exist yet.
hmm,
Because dimensions are not necessarily new universes or like different timelines, I should say. They're just
yeah,
different planes of existence. This, on the other hand, and then it ends with him basically being the main villain, or
yeah.
looking like to being the main villain.
Telling Earthlings to get in line, or he's going to destroy them.
Yeah, and I think, and for sure, I don't think it's the real Invincible. I
No,
don't think it's the one we know, but it's the same outfit, the same costume, and everything, and it makes it allude that it is him.
yes, but I agree with you. I don't think it's him. I think it's an alternate version, or he
Um,
could be corrupted.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I'm
But,
going. I'm going with a hard no. I think it's a version of him that is corrupted, for sure,
yeah,
but it's not the one we know. And I'm very much looking forward to that. I believe. I don't remember. No, I'm right. I mean, I'm right in my head, but I didn't say it right. They do a bunch of episodes at first, and then they do it weekly after.
Yeah, it's
That's
going to be
that's
the
the
first one,
Amazon,
and then they're going to be releasing an episode weekly until
and, the-
Thanksgiving.
and then they
Then they're
break.
taking a break until 2024 sometime.
I think it's the week after New Year's.
Is it? I don't remember.
Well, I don't think they've officially announced it yet.
I
I
don't,
think,
they just said sometime in 24, early 24.
yeah, I think the idea is I think it's going to depend on what happened. I think the reason why they didn't mention it is because it has to do with all the strikes.
I mean, this stuff is already written, so it doesn't have any impact.
No, but they might want to space it out more so they have more content.
Oh, okay, I see what
No,
you
no,
mean.
so like you're right, it's all done, but I think they might want to like space it out more based on because they have other content coming out in Amazon Prime, in
Mhm.
Prime, so they might want to space it out more so that way they have less void space. I guess the best way to put it,
Mhm.
because that's what
Right.
a lot of things are doing right now.
Also to correct you before we move on, to correct you on at the beginning, you said the release date was November 5th. It is November 3rd.
First week in November.
Technically, no. Because the 5th is a Sunday, which, if we're going by the technical thing, Sunday is the following week. So you would be wrong. That would be the
First
second.
7 days of the month. Anyway, we're moving on to Gen V of the first 3 episodes. Now, I am speaking the most on this only because Mike has seen 4 and 5, and he might accidentally give spoilers.
Correct.
Now, we will be talking about 4 and 5. Unfortunately, we're late on it. That's on me. We'll deal with that later. How dare I go on vacation? So anyway,
Some people.
some people enjoy their time. So anyway, um, I said that and that's awful. So anyway, we're going to talk about the main people here, right? So I'm going to be going off on a little bit of a tangent for a reason, because it's going to make more sense as I go on. So the main character is, what is her name?
Oh,
Right? I just know her as Blood Girl.
oh my god.
Isn't that awful? Monica? Why is
Monica,
Monica?
yes, Monica.
Is it Monica?
Yes.
That's so weird. Anyway, so so Monica, the story starts off with her getting her powers.
Nope, it's not Monica. Wow, we were just very off. Marie Monroe.
Marie. And again, I'm and anyway, I'm gonna just move on. So Marie gets her powers 7 years before the story starts, and it's blood powers. She's able to manipulate blood, and I'm saying this because we don't know. It looks like she can only manipulate blood that's outside of the body.
It seems like it, yes.
And again, I'm saying that.
Yeah.
I'm only saying that because that's all we've seen.
Mhm.
I hate you because you've already given me something I. Anyway, in the first 3 episodes, we don't see her manipulate blood in anybody's body that's inside. We only see her do it on the outside. So she gains these powers. I hate you so much. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. So she has her first period, and she's able to manipulate it. And her mother comes in to check on her, and she freaks out, and the blood goes right through her neck and dies. Kills her slowly, by the way, not a quick death.
Yeah.
Which I would have rather her die quickly, and the fact that she's just like, and she's still alive just makes it worse. Then Dad comes in and she freaks out with all the blood on the ground. The blood comes up as spikes and kills Dad. So she then is in an orphanage for all the soups. Now we know this orphanage because we've seen it in The Boys.
Yep.
Now we haven't seen these characters necessarily, but we've definitely seen this orphanage exist. She gets accepted to Godlick. Godlick? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
God U, which is what they go by,
Yeah.
which is very arrogant, by the way.
Yeah. They are
Um,
gods.
I know, but I think it's kind of cool that it's actually called Godlick University,
Mhm.
and then they just call it God U for short. Anyway, she gets accepted to the school, and originally she's accepted into the hero program, is she not?
No, she's not.
She is assuming she is.
She wanted to be, but she got declined.
Well,
Jordan.
no, but she doesn't know that when she got the acceptance letter.
True.
So she's under the impression she's in the hero course. So she gets into school, and we meet very. We're going to talk about the 5 main people. Golden Boy, who has the power of fire. And it looks like he only has the power of fire on his body.
Yes.
We have his girlfriend, who touches people, and when she touches them, she tells them what to do, and they do it.
Mm-hmm.
His best friend, who is going to be eventually called Polaris. He has the ability to manipulate magnetic fields.
Yep.
He's basically Magneto.
Mm-hmm.
Is the best way to describe him. Would you agree?
Yes. I agree. Yep.
And then we have Jordan Lee, who is a gender fluid character. They can transform into both genders, and people are going to get mad that I say that, but he transforms into the 2 genders that their body is able to transform into. When they're in the male form, they are, I don't want to say indestructible, but very close to it.
Enhanced durability.
And super strong.
And super strong.
When in the female form, they are able to be much more faster, agile, and has energy blasts,
Yeah.
it's weird to explain because I'm unsure if it's energy or if it's just like pulses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you understand what I'm getting at. It's some sort of energy output that kind of is, I would guess, a way to like do a ranged attack, like where she's not physically strong, but she's able to like still produce power.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also weaker in that form, physically.
Yeah, she can take a lot more damage.
She can't take a lot more damage in that form.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
She can get hurt.
Yeah, she can get hurt more in that form. And then we have Marie's roommate, who is Cricket, who, and again, I'm just going to say this, spoiler alert, there's going to be a lot of self-harm and eating disorder talks, because
You will be very uncomfortable.
me personally,
No. Just in general. People,
no, it's
people are
definitely, it's not an
squeamish.
easy topic, because so Cricket can make herself small, and apparently make herself big. I saw a trailer. So anyway,
Okay. Okay.
that's the reason why I know. But I don't know the full schematics of it, so we're not going to talk about it. But anyway, she throws up. She has to force herself to throw up, and she shrinks. The more she throws up, the more she shrinks.
Yep.
There might be more to it, but that's all we know at this particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
The more she eats, the bigger she gets. And the idea was, in these first 3 episodes at least, that she only ate until she gets to her normal height.
Yes. Yep.
For these 3 episodes. So anyway, those are the main characters that I wanted to say, because I wanted to make sure we knew what their powers were, because we kind of know about them later, but I think it makes more sense when I just bring it out now.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently Golden Boy is Golden Boy. But anyway, he's basically number 1 of the school. He's basically the Homelander of the school.
Yep.
Without being a straight up jerk, which I find
No,
interesting.
he seems to be like a down to earth, awesome dude.
I mean, he's not perfect, but he's. I would say he's the stereotypical college guy.
Like a would you,
Meaning, he's making bad decisions, but like you do that in college. Like he's
Oh,
not
okay.
doing anything that's like detrimental to people. He's not purposely trying to cause harm to people.
yes.
He doesn't find joy in it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That being said, that doesn't mean he doesn't cause harm to people by accident. But like he's not meaning to.
Yeah.
So the first episode is basically Marie basically getting used to school and thinking she's in the hero program, and then finding out she's not.
Mm-hmm.
And she meets her idol, who is not who she thinks he is. And when I say that, it's like he's physically exactly who she thought he was, but like mentally and like emotionally, he's nowhere close to what she was expecting. He was basically a jerk,
Mm-hmm.
saying that she could never be a hero.
Yep.
You know, you're a murderer. Nobody's going to want you to be basically nobody was going to believe you're a hero, which I think is kind of cool because it's really based on her power
Yeah.
that he doesn't think she could be a hero,
And he
right?
was going to tell her.
Well, that's later. First, she's kicked out of the hero program, and she's PO'd, right?
Well, no, she tries to go to be. So she tries to go to him to get the like get approved for the
Well, she's
hero
kicked out.
program.
Well, in her mind, so this is where it gets weird. So in her mind, at that moment, she's kicked out of it because in her mind, she was already in it when she never was.
So Jordan had actually said that was the one that gave her the seal, like whether the seal of approval or not to go into the program. Jordan did not approve of it, so she was trying to go to him. I forget his name to get the seal of approval, and that's when he was. Shut up. So that that is when he goes on the rant and says, "Oh, you're not gonna, you're not gonna be the, you're not gonna be a hero. You have to take the sacrifice for the other ones who are actually gonna be heroes, because
Again,
they had
that's
got
later.
caught. No, because they got caught out partying.
I thought she saw him twice.
No,
Because remember, yeah, she saw him twice because she went there to try to plead her case to get in, and he said no. And then she got summoned by him after the events of the drinking. Because she thought she was getting accepted, and he was telling her she's going to get expelled.
okay, you're right.
I
Yep,
know. I know. Please say it again.
it's a benefit. It's
You
a
know what?
benefit for you. It's a
It's
benefit for you when you're not fully up to date on the shows.
That's also true. So anyway, even when I win, he tries to take it away. So anyway,
This is the same thing that happened with Superman. I watched all the episodes and you didn't, and so I, I didn't remember what was going on.
no, I watched all the Superman episodes.
No, you didn't. You forgot about it. So the week that it came out, you didn't see them, and I did. So the next
Oh,
podcast,
it
we
was only
talked
one
about.
episode. It was only one episode though.
No, it
So
was
then the
like
first, no, it was the
it,
only one episode, and then for the next one we had to talk about three of them.
so the first episode, three of them came out, and then the next podcast we had to talk about another two,
That's right. No, that's right. You're right.
similar to
Anyway,
this.
yeah, basically. So yeah. So anyway, they go out. So what happens is there's a character that escapes or is on the run. We don't know what's going on, but this character is being basically running away, and these guards are trying to get him, and they're being smacked around by this guy, right? And that's when Polaris, the sun, and Marie stop him. Right? They use their powers and stop him. So that's
Mhm.
how she gets invited to go out with the seniors. Are they seniors, or are they juniors?
I thought they were juniors, but they could be seniors.
No, they might be juniors. You might be right. Um, but anyway, she gets invited to go out drinking with them. Then Polaris accidentally nips somebody in the neck with his metal, and Marie saves her life by manipulating her blood.
Hmm.
And so she's considered a hero at that moment, and so she gets summoned to the
The dean.
dean. What is he? He's a professor.
I
Of
think
he's a professor for sure, but
I think he's the dean.
he's the dean of that particular school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
no,
we
because
have
yeah,
we have the main like the main person, and then
yeah,
underneath that there's a dean in each of the schools.
yeah.
Anyway, so just like in regular college.
Mhm.
So he's the dean of the hero course specifically. Although I don't think that it's Lamplighter something. It's the Lamplighter School of Crime
I
Fighting
don't
or
know.
something like that. I'm only saying it because it reminds me. That being said, she thinks she's getting accepted to the hero program because he's boasting about how you're a true hero, but just know that you're gonna have to take the fall for the real heroes, and you're gonna have to make that sacrifice, and you're expelled. And she is livid. So she then has a fit, and then goes to go talk to him a third time. Because now she's really PO'd, right?
Mhm.
So she goes in, and that's when our friend Golden Boy burns the professor to a crisp. He then sees that she sees him, and he starts going after her, and that's when Jordan starts to fight Golden Boy unsuccessfully. But I also think Jordan's holding back a bit.
He's trying not to hurt him because he's his friend. He wants to know what's going on.
Correct. And
He's their friend. Sorry.
I know I have to do the same thing. Mostly because they keep switching between genders to fight him.
Yeah.
And that's where we really get to see Jordan's power, which I think is a really cool power. Do not get me wrong. Like, it's almost like the Wonder Twins. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they like, them by themselves, like, individually stink, but when you combine them together, they're awesome.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So anyway, in the fight, Golden Boy blows himself up. In a way that I was not expecting. He literally goes into the air and explodes. Before doing...
The professor's name was Brink. It was bothering me that I didn't remember.
Okay. Well, it's an important name that keeps getting brought up.
Yeah.
Do you know who he was, actor-wise?
Yeah.
He's the governor of Lethal.
Yep.
As soon as I heard the voice, I was like, no. And I was like, yeah. And then
So
he died, and I was like, oh.
That surprised me. I wasn't, because the way the trailers were, he was like.
Well, there were two people that died that I was surprised about: Golden Boy and him.
Yep.
Golden Boy was everywhere, quite literally everywhere.
He is a renowned professor at Godolkin University, and he is the chairman of the Lamplighter School of Crime Fighting. So
All right, chairman. So they don't use dean, which is fine.
Yeah.
But he's basically the head of it. Let's be honest. It's his approval on what goes on there,
Mm-hmm.
on that particular school.
Yes.
Piece of the school. We're gonna jump over some of the disturbing parts in the sense of like sex scenes and stuff like that, because there's some really gross ones.
You have no idea.
I don't. I've only seen what I've seen, so I can imagine it gets worse. Anyway. Yeah. I just have images in my head. I'm sorry.
I think I know which one you're imaging into. So.
No, actually no, because I'm just thinking of what else could have happened, like meaning like the future ones. No. I can picture the first one without a problem because I'm fine with it. I'm mentally okay by it at this point, but I'm thinking of worse ones now. Anyway, I'm just so thrown off by that. So anyway, after all that happens, Polaris, the young Polaris, is basically told by Golden Boy that his dad has all the secrets. And he has no idea what that means. And we don't fully know what that means for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's kind of the fact of like, Vought is taking care of all the existence of the Professor and of Golden Boy from existence.
Yeah.
They're showing Golden Boy as a sadistic murderer suicide bomber.
So I think they're taking like dual approaches because he like you said like they're making him seem like he's a mad person who just like snapped and went crazy, but he was also like the top guy that had a lot of potential but then like just lost it.
I think the big thing was they were like, they were making a big point of like, oh, he I'm trying to think of how do I want to explain it. Like, he was their main focus, but it's like, obviously, he wasn't the guy we thought he was.
Yeah. And then they're talking, like, going after all their friends, going, like, oh, why didn't you notice that he was actually insane, like, all this other stuff, and they're like...
Well, that's because that's how the media portrayed it. Yep. And so, the big thing, too, is Marie kind of boosts into that, because she was like, how she had to take him out herself, when it was actually Jordan Lee. Nobody really took him out, but defended themselves, right?
Yeah.
And Jordan just wanted their 10 seconds of fame, and Marie didn't give it to her.
Hmm.
And the
Well, Jordan didn't want the 10 seconds of fame. They wanted because they knew that Brink, if if Golden Boy wasn't around, they would have been the top student. And after Brink is because Brink is no longer there and no longer has favor, they kind of just like got the bad end of the stick.
Yep. And they just wanted their boost, basically.
They wanted their recognition.
Well, the reason why I call it their 10 seconds of fame is because that's really what makes you the hero or not. If you're not in the media, you're not, you know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
So, because of all this, Marie is the first freshman to be in the top 10.
Yep.
And she's getting help from the
Actual dean of school.
dean of the whole school.
Yep.
And she's using Marie to help her out, basically. And what we find out is, and I know we're bouncing back and forth, and we do apologize, but it's been a while since I've seen all three, and I watched all three at the same time, so they all kind of blend together. So anyway, we then have we find out that Golden Boy's brother, who we thought was dead, is not dead, and was the guy that was captured with the help of Marie and young Polaris, and he's still alive, and they now want to, well, Polaris anyway wants to help him escape.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't know quite know how to do it yet, but wants to. His big genius idea, right? So what happens now is everyone gets invited to this big event, right? I say everyone. Jordan Lee's there. Marie is invited by the dean.
The top 10.
Well, the top 10. Well, yeah, the top 10 were invited. Marie's there. Jordan Lee's there, and young Polaris is there. But Cricket's there because their mother is a big TV exec, or was once. She used to work for Vought. I don't know if she still does. I don't think she does anymore.
I'll be honest. I kind of took her as I took her kind of as Starlight's mother, who like just wasn't really somebody, but because of the fact that she has a big time hero, she thinks she's somebody, and she's like trying to pull the strings to make her daughter.
But I think she knew she worked for Vought. I think I don't think she was anybody important, and I think you're right on that. But I think she knew these people from Vought.
Possible.
But I do agree with you 100%. I think she's worse than Starlight's mother for a lot of reasons. And so her mother is invited, technically, for some unknown reason. And she then gets her daughter there. And then we also have Golden Boy's not ex-girlfriend, but living girlfriend, who she just basically forced her way in. She wasn't really invited, but she just showed up because she can. And then we find out that Cricket's mother wants her to have a reality show talking about her eating disorder, and Cricket's not comfortable talking about that stuff still, and she still doesn't think she has an eating disorder.
Yeah.
She thinks of it as her power, which I do agree to a certain extent that it is technically how she enacts her power, but I'm wondering if it's the only reason why she enacts that power that way is because of her eating disorder.
I agree.
But anyway, so that being said, and we have Marie who cuts herself. Because Marie, well, no, she really does. She takes out a knife, cuts her hand, and uses the blood as a weapon.
Correct.
And so there's a lot of, self-harm stuff going on. But anyway, so Cricket is PO'd that her mother wants her to do a reality show about her eating disorder that she's not ready to talk about. And she finally snaps and goes, "You know what? Why don't you tell her about who taught me how to throw up, Mom?" And I was just like, ooh. And then she gets up and leaves. So her and young Polaris are smoking out front. The Mary Jane. And he comes up with this ingenious idea of using her to sneak into the facility to save Golden Boy's brother. She shrinks down and wears what looks like a Polly Pocket outfit. I'm assuming it is, but I think for copyright reasons, it's just doll's clothing. But it's like rubber. She sneaks in, and then he leaves. He's got a tracking device on her, so he knows where she is. He then goes upstairs while all the girls are canoodling, basically talking about their problems. And we learn a lot about the three of them and realize that Jordan Lee was born a male and wants to be female, and their parents are not happy about it and want them to stay a man. Be a man. Be a man. And don't turn into that girl. Basically, that's legitimately what it is.
Yep.
We have Golden Boy's girlfriend who hates her
Kate.
parents. Huh?
Kate.
Thank you. Kate hates her parents because they got all mad at her for shooting her up with V, and then she did what any older sister would have done to their annoying brother and told him to go away and never come back. The difference is, when she does it, they really do it.
Yep.
And they never found a body.
Never found him. Yep.
And then we have, obviously, Marie's backstory, which we already know about. We've already talked about because we saw that in the very beginning of episode 1. And so they realize that they're not that different, and they really need to be more friendly with each other than be at each other's throats. They all got their problems. And that's when Polaris comes in and is like, hey guys, I kind of messed up. We got a problem. And they're like, what do you mean we? And he's like, well, I asked Cricket to go into this high-tech facility, and I can't get her out. And so they're like, all right, we're going to go help you get her out. And that's how the episode ends for them. But there's a piece that's missing, right? So we have Cricket that makes it into the facility, gets into Golden Boy's brother's food. He opens up the tray, and he's like thinking he's hallucinating. And in fairness, you really can't front the guy for thinking so.
Yep.
So then he's talking with her, and that's when the alarms start going off because they realize that he's talking to somebody, so it's got to be a soup, right? So then he puts her in the bookcase, he gets electrocuted and falls down, right? And they're starting now looking for... I don't think they know it's her.
No, they don't know who it is. They just know.
But they know it's somebody. So they're looking around. They know it's somebody small. Or invisible. So they're looking around for somebody, right? And they can't find him. He kills one of them? Oh, no, there's only one, right?
No, there's only one in the room.
There's only one in the room. And she jumps into his ear canal and goes from one ear to the other. He dies, and she comes out in a puddle of blood. And that's how the episode ends.
The episode ends with the rest of the guards coming in and, like, basically aiming their guns down at her. And she's looking up and going, oh.
Yeah. And that's the end. It was, first off, the first 3 episodes, phenomenal. I'm assuming it gets better.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No, and here's the thing. I was not questioning that it wouldn't get better. I'm just stating that I just haven't seen it, so, anyway.
It gets a lot more mentally,
Yeah, no, I figured as much because this one is definitely... And even just for the first 3 episodes, it was definitely more mental than just gross.
Yeah. So, like I was telling you at one point, it was, like, The Boys is a lot, like, in your face, like, violent.
It's a lot more brutal. It's more brutal. It's got a little bit of psychological stuff, but it's mostly the blood and gore.
And this one is definitely violent, but it's a lot more psychological.
I don't think... And here, the violence is not the main point of the story, I think, for this. And granted, you could argue that The Boys, the violence isn't, but it kind of is. It's like, where this one, there's violence, but it's more of the psychological torture.
Yes.
And there's a lot of it already that I've seen, and I've only seen the first 3 episodes. And from what I'm hearing, there's a lot more to come.
Oh yeah, this show definitely touches more on like societal issues than The Boys does.
Yeah, The Boys kind of touched at it a little bit, but this one's going face first into it.
Balls to the walls with it.
Correct. And again, they were hinting at it in the first 3 episodes. So I'm not surprised that they're going to go fully into it more.
Yeah.
Because the first 3 episodes just set it up.
Yeah.
Now we're just going to go, whee! Right? I mean, mental illness, big time. A lot. Already. Oh, yeah. And I know that from just 3 of the main characters. Mm-hmm. Marie, Jordan, actually 4. Marie, Jordan, Cricket, and Golden Boy's brother, Sam.
Yep.
So anyway, that's the end of that. I think it's great. I think it's going to continue to be great. There's only 8 episodes or 10 episodes, or we don't know.
I do not
I
know.
don't think we know.
I never actually.
I mean, I
Eight
don't really.
episodes.
8?
8 episodes.
Okay.
I actually never looked. I don't know. I didn't know.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to Loki because we got to speed things up a bit.
Yeah,
Loki is incredible. Um,
that was great introductory episodes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So episode 1 was literally we got a lot of answers. A lot of answers were given to us in episode 1 that we needed for the end of season 1.
Yep.
Um, which I thought was incredible. Because the episode 1 of Loki season 2 starts off right where the after credit scene ends.
Yep.
Maybe like seconds after, but like it's like almost immediate. And they don't know what's going on. Meaning like that we're like Loki's like, you guys know who I am, I'm Loki. And they're like, well, it's obviously a variant, we have to get rid of him. And he's
Yep.
just like, you guys know who I am. And so he's running. So now he's being chased by Mobius. Yeah, Mobius, I'm right.
Mobius.
I almost said
Mobius
Morbius.
and X B12.
B12. And you know what's funny? I remember her being a vitamin because B12 was a vitamin. And I'm like, it's B something. And I keep wanting to say like B4 or B6. I'm like, it's not right. So they're running after him. And then all of a sudden he like does this weird thing that confuses me. And his body like literally like contorts and rips apart and then disappears.
Yep. It's time skipping.
Yeah, but we don't know it's time skipping yet.
Oh yeah.
But you're right,
Yeah,
it is
we,
time
we,
skipping.
we did.
No,
Yeah,
no,
we
we do
did.
now. So the whole
Yeah.
thing is, so during that fight, he then escapes, smashes into a building, and meets Carl. What is his name? Kyle? The guy who had all the Infinity Stones in the first season, and they were just used
Yeah.
as paperweights.
Yeah. Carl.
Casey.
Mm.
Casey?
No, I think it's Carl. I think Carl is.
Anyway, doesn't matter. So anyway, he's like, you know who I am, I'm Loki. And he's like, you know who I am? And it's like, yeah, we know each other. He's like, oh my gosh, I found the variant. Because it's like, well, no, because it would make sense that they would think he's a variant.
Yep.
Because if he knows everyone, but they don't know him, he's obviously a variant. What we find out is, and as Mike has already alluded, he's time skipping. And apparently, the TVA has a timeline.
That it does.
And he's been going to the past and the future and the present of the TVA.
So, as we were assuming, we had thought it was a different universe.
It was the
But
same
It
universe.
is the same universe.
It was just earlier in
Different
time
timeline.
when Kang was not afraid to show himself.
Yes.
And I don't want to use the word afraid because that's not the right word. But he
He
thought
was more willing to be a part of the TVA. He was more involved.
I think he needed to be at that point because it sounded like at that point was like the start of their branches, and he had to remove a bunch of them still.
Yeah.
And where was I going? So while this is going on, he's now trying to find Mobius, and Mobius and B12 are summoned by the Grand Judge, Supreme Judge, whatever.
Yeah.
And basically being summoned. So the whole time Loki's trying to get his attention, and he can't because he keeps time skipping.
Mm-hmm. And every time he gets close, he turns around as he time skips.
Correct. No, absolutely. So Mobius and B12 are summoned in, and they're now on a court. They're being judged basically. Now, not them themselves. The judge is then the call, meaning should they prune these timelines, or should they not? That's basically what this court is about. B12 and Mobius is on the side of not, and the other group is on the side which we've never met. We've never met those two before, correct? I don't remember them.
The two judges none of the judges we met, but I think the hunter that was with the one of the
Yeah,
judges.
we've seen him before, yeah.
Yeah.
And we see him in episode 2 too.
Yep.
Although I did not recognize him right away.
I did not.
But anyway, so the idea is they want to stop the timelines because it's going to cause chaos, and B12 and Mobius doesn't because that's trillions and trillions of lives being destroyed, and they need to think about it. And the judge is on their side. They're like, you know what? I used to always be like, no, we're pruning, pruning, pruning. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Now it's my say. And you know what? We're not pruning. That was pretty much how it goes. Loki appears, right? After listening, so he's in the past. Loki's eventually in the past of the courtroom, or the judge room, whatever you want to call it. And it's a bunch of Kang's faces. And he's then listening to Renslayer and Kang talk to each other on a recorded line about how he needs her and how he's happy that they're a part of the team, right? Which makes me think that she was never brainwashed the second time.
She was very well aware of what was going on.
Which would explain why she was so calm.
Yep. And apparently she's been around for a long time,
Well,
too.
they all were.
They all were, but
I think she was the only one that wasn't brainwashed.
Yeah. I kind of took it like they were all around for a long time, but I kind of took it as like she was around since the very beginning, and like she was.
So in the comics,
I took it that she was around longer than the other ones.
So in the comics, yes. In the comics, she's like the first one that kind of like first she tries to kill him, and then they become teammates. So it makes sense that she might have been one of the first ones, but I think it was one of those things where I think he might have done it as a group. I think he grew on her later, but again, we don't know yet because it's still new. Anyway, So then Loki comes back to the present, and they're all like, "Oh my gosh, it's Loki!" And then he uses the time stick, hits the wall, and shows what was there before, which was the Kang variants or Kang's face. And he's basically like, "This is he who remains. Like, this is the guy we got to be worried about." And Mobius is like, "We're gonna leave now." Like, literally pulls him away. He's like, "We need to figure out what's going on with you." No, we need to find Sylvie. She's by herself with he who remains. He's like, "Man, we need to find out what's going on with you, or else we can't do anything. Because what you're doing is gross." He's like, and he's like, "Is it that bad?" No. Then it happens again. He goes, "Oh my God, that's gross. We need to figure this out." He said, "It didn't look that bad." He goes, "Ma'am," and we find somebody in the elevator, which I think is the funniest thing of all. He's like, "Tell me that was disgusting," and she's terrified to say anything. And he's just like, "All right, I guess we'll fix this." And we meet the coolest guy ever, Obi.
Obi, the creator of the TVA time book.
Apparently, who also was not brainwashed either.
Yeah.
But I think that was more because they forgot about him.
Yeah.
That's awful to say, but it makes sense.
It does.
Because he's not only in the bottom floor. You have to go to the bottom floor of the TVA to get to a specific elevator to then go to the other bottom of the floor. Like, that's a whole thing. Do you know who that actor is?
I recognize him, but I don't remember where.
Okay,
he's
so
from.
he do you ever watch The Goonies or Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
He was the little Asian boy.
Oh wait, I think you told me that.
Yeah, so then his big claim to fame back was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Mm-hmm.
That was his big comeback movie.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's where I recognize him from.
Yeah, so
I didn't see the movie, but I think he was in the trailers.
Yeah, he was in the trailer a lot. I don't think he was the main character, or he might have been. He definitely was the main male character, but he wasn't the main character. The female was. But anyway, yeah. So that was his big ticket back to fame, and now he's in this, which I think is cool. So he's basically fixes all the technology for the TVA. Basically, what his role is. So he's basically telling Mobius that nobody can time skip in the TVA, as Loki does it. And he's like, "Well, that's time skipping, but you can't do that here." He's like, "But you saw it." "Yeah, but it can't happen." And it was just the funniest thing. And then Loki is talking to him in the past, like, I want to say hundreds of years in the past.
I think hundreds. I think it's because it's before he met Mobius, and he said Mobius had last visited him 400 years ago from that.
Correct. So it's hundreds. So it's over that. So anyway, which means there was a mind wipe in the last 400 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just fun fact for the kids. Anyway, Loki and Obi are talking, and Mobius and Obi are talking. And it's a weird thing. So the past.
I just love that sequence.
Well, because it didn't happen before, and then it did. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those weird things where it's like Loki was creating basically a new
timeline.
Basically, and so Obi created everything already to help fix Loki because he saw Loki hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
I
And
just
then
need to we just need to talk about it because he's like talking to Mobius and Mobius he's like, oh, you need this particular item, and he's like,
and
oh,
he's
do
like,
we
"But do
have
you
it?
have
No,
it?"
we
He's like,
don't.
"No." And then all of
No.
a sudden,
And then he looks down.
He's telling Loki. Well, no, it goes back to Loki, and it's like, "All right, well, I'll make this then." He goes, "Can you make it until Mobius gets back? Mobius gets here for the first time or the next time or whatever." And he's like, "Sure, I could do that." And then literally, he's like, "Oh wait, no, I have this. This
I
will
know
tether
this
him to
was
the timeline." And so that whole thing happens. We see how the timeline, excuse me, the sacred timeline is created. I think the thing that like shocks me the most is I thought the sacred timeline was only one timeline. It's not. It's multiple timelines sewn together.
hmm
So like there are multiple timelines that exist in the sacred timeline.
I'm not really following what you're saying with that.
Okay. So you know how the timeline branches off, right?
Yep.
And they have to prune it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Well, when they feed it through the thing, there are other timelines in there that are allowed to exist.
Oh yes, yes,
Meaning, like, so, like, the sacred timeline is the circle, right? But I thought it was just one timeline.
yes. That's how they made it seem in the first season.
Correct. And that's not the case. There can be multiple as long as they don't create another K,
Yes.
right? Which I think is
Yep.
so incredible. Because that's what we find out in this episode, and it's incredible to know. Now, granted, we don't know that that's the reason why they're allowed to exist. We're just assuming that that's the reason.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, so they then have to basically create a suit. Well, no, I'm sorry. They have to delete Loki from existence and then shoot the extractor into the timeline and pull him out. That's the only way it's going to work. Right? And they're like, well, is it going to work? He's like, I don't know. Obi's like very honest. He's like, no idea. He's like, you could die and not exist anymore, or you can live forever. I don't know. One of the two. And then Mobius is like, well, what happens if I go out there? He's like, well, you can go out there, and if you're not fast enough, you'll die. Your skin will peel off. He's like, why do you keep saying that? That was a big piece. Like, your skin will peel off. He's like, why do you keep saying that? Like, that's a bad thing. He's like, well, it's going to happen.
If he doesn't get back fast enough, your skin is going to peel off.
So Loki goes back to the TV, like gets transported back to the TVA, but it's apparently the future. But I thought it was the present,
hmm
and I'm assuming you did too.
I did at first. Yep.
Well, even when Sylvie was there, I thought it was the present. Because the power was all fluctuating, I thought it was still the present. Because
Oh,
they had
okay.
not-
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, so Loki's now running around looking for a time stick because he needs to delete himself so he can then be extracted.
hmm
So Mobius uses the extractor, shoots it out, and Obi's like, "You gotta go now." He's like, "Well, we gotta wait." He's like, "I can't wait anymore." Hits the button, and now Loki's frantically looking around. He sees that the green light's on. Sylvie opens up an elevator door, enough to see her face, and then he gets pruned, and that's all we see, right? So
Yep.
he then gets extracted, pulled out, bumps into Mobius, and the two get knocked into behind the blast doors, and that's how the first episode ends.
hmm
But then there's a mid-credit scene where Sylvie goes to an alternate timeline in the 1980s.
Yep.
She goes to a McDonald's, and how she orders is by far the greatest order I've ever heard in my life. I want something dead, where I don't see its face, and I don't have to kill it myself. And the guy's like, okay, I can do that. And then she realizes where she is or what's happening. Like it's a alternate timeline where she can exist.
She can finally live her life.
And she goes, you know what? I'll have everything. And that is how the episode really ends.
Yep.
So the next episode happens, and I need your help with this. Where does the episode begin?
Where does it begin?
Does it begin when they go into 19 to look for Brad? Or is there a scene before that?
I don't think it starts it doesn't start immediately with Brad because they're talking at first.
So that's no, they talk out the time portal to Brad's timeline, but we don't see Brad yet.
Crap.
The reason why I'm asking is because I feel like I missed something. Because they just automatically went to that timeline, and I didn't know why originally. We find out later. You understand what I'm getting
No.
at?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I definitely think there was something that happened at the beginning.
I don't remember it. But anyway,
Hang on. I'm gonna look real quick. Keep
don't.
talking.
FYI, don't skip the recap. I know it's gonna sound weird when I say that, because that's what I did, and it ends up right where they open up the time portal to go to Brad's timeline. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I understand, but
All right. So
I
anyway,
mean,
they go to this timeline, and there's this actor called Brad, whatever. I don't care. His last name's not important, and it's this big actor, and we find out that this guy is actually the hunter that was with the other judge. That was voting to eliminate all timelines, or most timelines. Wink, wink. Well, no, there's a reason for that, and we'll get to that in a minute. So, they then go after Mobius and Loki go after the actor, and he gives him the slip. So they go back and forth between the three of each other, and Loki shows his power more so than we've seen in a long time of him, and he basically outsmarts the guy and captures him. So they bring him back to the TVA, along with B12 being there too, which I think is kind of cool. And they bring him back and lock him up because they want to know exactly what the other judge's plan is. And he's not talking at all. He is given big energy right now. I mean, big villain energy, because he's trying to attack Loki at his core, and he actually pisses off Mobius enough where Mobius snaps and punches him in the face, which I think is incredibly awesome.
okay, so you are correct. It starts by them going into the timeline with Hunter Hunter X5.
Looking for Hunter XY.
No, so they're looking for Sylvie. They went to this timeline because this is where his tempad last sent a signal. So
Yeah, but they didn't go with him. They went to a signal.
yes, they went
Yeah.
to his signal. So because they said, "Oh, this is where his signal got lost," maybe Sylvie's here because she killed him.
Yeah.
So they're just tracking people's tempads to try to find the hunters that are going looking for Sylvie because they want to find Sylvie.
Correct, but the reason why I got thrown off and why I asked you is because I did fall asleep last night from the episode, so I wondered if I missed something. So I didn't. So I watched the whole
You
thing. Perfect. Well, because it was weird because it started off at a point where we felt like we were missing something, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, they capture him. They lock him up.
They're just trying to go to timelines to try to find Sylvie, and their first step is to follow the hunters who are looking for Sylvie.
Correct, and the known hunters. So anyway, they capture him. They bring him back. He gets into Mobius's skin, and Mobius snaps, and Loki pulls him out of there, and they leave him in there by himself. And Mobius and Loki are talking, and Loki's like, "We got to talk about that." He said, "No, we don't. We don't need to talk about it. You got under my skin. That's it." He said, "Well, haven't you ever wondered about your timeline?" He goes, "No, I try not to. This is my home. This is what I know." And he goes, and he finally opens up and he goes, "I'm worried it's good. I can handle bad. I can't handle good."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the most honest thing ever, because Loki's trying to explain to him, like, "Hey, I've snapped before. I enslaved all of New York with an alien race. Like, oh, we all snap, right?" And it's like, those are very different snaps, but okay, we'll go with it.
Yeah.
But I think what was cool was Mobius opens up and basically explains, like, "Hey, like, I don't want to know my timeline because I'm afraid that it's going to be a good thing." You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be good. And he, I think that's the key piece there, where he's not worried about it being bad. He's worrying about it being like a wholesome, good ending to his story. And he's really fighting against it. So then they come up with this plan to try to get Brad to tell us everything. And this was a well orchestrated plan by Mobius, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
The two of them go in and they bring in this machine that I'm under the impression before they show what it does that it's used to delete people.
I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, look, it's a vacuum cleaner that's going to, like, suck them into some kind of void.
Well, no, that's basically what it literally deletes them, is what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
it was and it. I wasn't wrong, but I definitely wasn't right on the way it does it for sure. So anyway, Loki and Mobius realize that they don't have the controller, and Mobius leaves and Loki locks him out. And Loki goes, "We're going to talk about Sylvie and everything." Yep, because we'll find out later, which I've already spoiled, but it's Mobius's plan all along. And Loki basically goes, "Hey, I have the controller here." Shocking. And you're right, I am the villain. So you're going to tell me everything I want to know. Or we're going to see what this thing does. And he starts pushing buttons. Now, it looks like Loki doesn't know how to use the machine.
But he does.
Yes. But he definitely makes
But
it seem like he
good.
doesn't. Which
Yeah.
I think is incredibly awesome. Because I think that's what terrifies Brad even more. That he's
Yeah.
going to press a wrong button and it's going to go bad. So, like, he uses it, makes a big, like, a cube on the seat and shrinks it. And Brad's like, don't be pushing buttons, man. Like, you don't know how that works. That thing can do a lot of damage. Well, then he gets in a cube himself. And he's now like, you can't be doing this. Mobius is, like, banging on the door. And he starts pushing buttons and it shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And finally it gets to the point of, like, really small. Where it's definitely not comfortable. But it's not crushing him either.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, he tells him that he found Sylvie and he'll show her where he is. He lets him out, and they show him,
Mobius walks in.
which is hilarious. Which proves it was his idea the whole time. And he's
Yeah.
like, "That was you orchestrated that?" He's, yeah, I did. And so they go to the 1980s at a McDonald's where Sylvie is working, and she is not happy to see Loki.
Nope.
And he asked to talk to her, and she goes, "Well, I'm on break in 5 minutes." So they then go talk, and Brad wants to leave really bad. And Mobius is like, obviously notices it, and he's like, "Why do you want to leave so bad?" He goes, "This is an ambush, isn't it?" And Brad doesn't lie because it's not an ambush.
Nope.
And so he finally finds out what's going on, although we don't hear it yet. So we find out the whole talk with Loki and Sylvie, and they're not happy, blah, blah, blah. And that's when Mobius comes out and is like, "Tell him what you just said. We need to leave." He's like, "No, you tell him everything." He's like, "The judge is going to prune all the timelines, including this one, and I'd prefer not to die right now. Like, everyone here is going to die." So they make the time portal, they go to where she is, and they go into a huge fight. Which is a cool fight, I think. Granted, it's small, but it's really cool. Now,
Yeah.
they start eliminating timelines like it is, like you are pruning a plant. Like, they are going to town. Like, one after the other, after the other, after the other.
Yep.
And they start fighting all of these people, and they win. Now, they win at a cost, because a lot of I don't think all of the timelines, but a lot of the timelines were pruned.
Yeah, there were some that stayed, but majority of them were pruned.
Yeah, like, I would say, if I had to guess, I would say between 80 and 95% of all the timelines were pruned.
I would keep it at like 95, honestly. Like when
Well,
we were
visually, that's what it looks like, but we don't get to see all the branches all the times, so I don't know if it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's tough.
from the computer screen. I think
It looks
off
like
of
it's
the
only
green line,
one. Like,
yeah,
there's only like one or two.
Yeah.
Correct. But anyway, that being said, they stop the judge, they lock them all up, except for the ones that escaped, but they got the main one. And Sylvie then gets into an argument with Loki and leaves. We
And-
assume she goes back to her timeline, or the timeline
Yeah.
she likes.
I
Which-
assume.
Well, it's kind of obvious that she does,
Because
based
of the-
on
the interaction.
Correct. So the episode ends with Sylvie being at McDonald's, finishing her shift, and Loki, Mobius, and B12 learning the location of where Renslayer is, or the potential of where the last time she used her pin pad.
Yep. We also find out in this episode that Miss Minutes is working with He Who Remains and Renslayer.
I think we always knew she was working with He Who
Oh,
Remains,
okay, no,
but
sorry.
we learned that she was working with Renslayer.
So in the episode, the characters do not know that Miss Minutes is working with He Who Remains.
Oh, yes, it is. Sorry, you're correct. The characters now know that she's working with Miss Minutes and He Who Remains, who
Yes.
is dead but not.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think this is an incredible series so
I
far.
think they're a great start so far.
Honestly, it's a lot, and like they made it seem like we were going to see so many different timelines, and then they fixed it. Like, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I would have liked to seen them all, but it makes sense that they had to remove a lot of the issues, which would then make sense why we haven't seen a lot of variants,
Correct.
because a lot of them were already pruned, which I
Definitely.
think was kind of cool. All right, so now we're going to move on to our character spotlights. Mike, would you like to go first, or do you want me to?
No, I will go first.
Mike's going to go first because he's special.
Anyways, so we didn't talk about DC this week, but before I start my character spotlight, I want to touch on something real quick that was announced by DC because it kind of leads into it. So, so it was announced by DC Comics that after a hiatus, absent of 14 years, they are relaunching the Elseworlds comic series. They're going to start by releasing Gotham by Gaslight, The Kryptonian Age, Batman the Barbarian, Dark Knights of Steel Allwinter, Green Lantern Dark, Batman Nightfire, and DC vs. Vampires World War V.
Oh, that one! I think they've done something similar to that one.
So obviously the V, I'm going to go on the limit. It actually means World War V, but it could also mean V as in vampires.
No,
but,
it's V as in vampire.
So my spotlight this week is going to kind of relate to the Elseworld series. So one Elseworld timeline goes throughout the premise of what if there was a world without Superman. The day that the Superman ship landed in Earth, Martha and Jonathan Kent ended up not being able to get to the crash site because their truck got a nail in the tire. So it prevented them from getting to the spaceship, and Superman was never found. I didn't actually find anything about what happened to Superman, so I'm going to go on a limb and kind of say he died. But I don't know. So this timeline is called Justice League of America, The Nail. Taking place in an alternate reality, Justice League of America, The Nail, examines the nature of a world without Superman. Years in the past, a flat tire caused by a nail prevents the Kents from discovering a small rocket ship with an alien baby inside. As a result, the world's greatest hero never comes to be. Now, without a symbol of impeccable integrity or a selfless leader who inspires greatness in their ranks, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, The Atom, and Green Lantern must battle public contempt and personal mistrust as they attempt to work together to protect a world that fears them. So, essentially, a nail in the tire prevents Superman from coming to be. Crap.
How interesting is that? Like a nail.
Very little nail. Very simple.
No, I know, but I mean, like something as simple as that, and that stops Superman from being Superman.
So this series was just a 3-issue comic series. It was very short, but one of the characters that I wanted to go and dive into was actually, in this universe, was the Joker.
Okay.
So in this timeline, Joker, I guess, ends up being killed, and the crimes that the Joker committed ends up haunting Batman for the rest of his life. So in this timeline, Joker acquires an alien weaponry from an unknown benefactor, and he uses this weaponry to attack Arkham Asylum. He erects a force field around the building that only allows the Bat family to enter it. Now, before entering the building, Batman, Robin, and Batgirl they enter the building, and Joker allows villains to enter the building as well, following them. So basically, what he's doing is he is setting up a fight night. So all of the villains are going to be fighting for the right to be the last one standing to possibly fight and take out the Bat family.
Dun dun dun.
Huh?
Dun dun dun.
Oh.
That literally is all I did. Sorry.
So Catwoman ends up knocking out the last villain as Batman enters the asylum. Joker's new weapons, which are power gauntlets, allows him to easily overpower Batman. And he then captures Batgirl and Robin as they try to save Batman. Joker, in his typical fashion, laughing at his helpless foes. He forces Batman to watch as he literally tears Batgirl and Robin apart to kill them.
Which Robin is it? Not that it matters, but it does to me.
Doesn't specify.
Okay.
So I'm going to guess it's Dick and Barbara.
Well, Barbara makes sense because it's Batgirl, but I meant because it could have.
I mean, just like Robin, there's been other Batgirls as well, but
True.
Batman, somehow the gauntlets, like I said, capturing Batman, he can't turn away, but he also cannot even close his eyes, so he is forced to watch as Joker literally tears them apart. Eventually, Catwoman regains consciousness after Joker knocks her out, just as the two sidekicks end up getting killed. She lashes out, and it distracts him long enough so Batman is able to escape and damage the power gauntlets that he has. Thus, without the gauntlets, Batman beats Joker to death in rage. After the main threat is dealt with, Joker's captured. All these inmates are put back.
Well, you just said he beat Joker to death, so he's not captured; he's dead.
Sorry. After he deals with Joker, he goes and captures all the asylum inmates, takes care of that. After that, Batman then submits to the authorities for the murder of Joker, but the death was ruled as an act of war, so Batman doesn't get charged.
Okay.
So after some time, dimensional anomalies end up threatening the universe. So Batman is forced to face the Joker once again when the Clown Prince of Crime nearly manages to escape from hell. Although Batman was willing to trap himself in hell with the Joker to keep his foe contained, Batman and Robin appear to their mentor to give him the strength to move on from his guilt over the failure to save them. So, in this timeline, Joker kills Batgirl and Robin. Batman kills Joker. Joker goes to hell. Batman then, in order to prevent Joker from escaping hell, because obviously he's definitely in hell, Batman goes into hell to keep the Joker there, and I'm guessing just like being in hell raises like ghosts of Batgirl and Robin, and they tell him it's okay. And that is the premise of one of the stories from the Nail timeline.
Perfect.
Without Superman being around,
things are very different.
Things are very different. Batman does. I guess Batman does not have doesn't have the no killing policy, unless it's just because
it might have been just him snapping. Like he might have had that, but then for this particular thing, he broke it.
Yeah.
Which would make sense for obvious reasons.
Definitely.
All right, moving on to mine. So this name should ring a bell to you. Elsa Bloodstone.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who that is?
Rings a bell. I don't recognize. I can't.
You would remember it if you watched Werewolf at Night.
Oh, okay. I've still yet to see that.
Oh, okay. Well, spoiler alert, there's going to be stuff in here from the movie. Anyway, I highly recommend it. So,
I
Elsa
know.
Bloodstone was born to Elias, I think is how you pronounce the name, and the immortal monster hunter Ulysses Bloodstone in Boston, Massachusetts. But she was actually raised in England and saw Europe as her home, more than Boston. Now, Ulysses, okay, is an immortal monster hunter, okay?
You have trouble finding that?
No, 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 no. I didn't know this about him. He was
Okay.
apparently a caveman, okay, who was frozen like from the ice and stuff like that, um, and was not resurrected but de-thawed and then became the monster hunter with the Bloodstone, which became his name. Um, and he was de-thawed multiple times because he, got frozen multiple times because comics. And with the power of the Bloodstone, he was able to live forever. Well, not age is the better way to put it because he does die. Spoiler alert. So anyway, he was a strict
He's kind
parent.
of so
Huh?
for my retrospect, he's kind of like Vandal Savage, where he lives forever, but he needs the stone.
It's unclear if removing the stone will make him die. I think he could just die.
Okay.
I think there has to be other help involved, like he can't just die a normal way, but we'll get into that in a minute. Because it's part of her story. So anyway, he's a strict parent and as a rite of passage, had his daughter fight the Blight Beast when she was only a baby. He also tried to remove her weakness as a child by throwing her to a horde of great white sharks off the coast of South Africa. Like typical parents. This is legitimately hilarious. For her first kill, her father made her fight a Clippeth, but she took 10 seconds too long and got its blood all over her head. Elsa wanted to shave Elsa's head to remove it, but Ulysses had ordered Elsa to let it remain there and infect her scalp as a sign of inadequacy. So Elsa complied with her father and let it corrupt her head. Her mother, on the other hand, because their names are too similar, her mother, on the other hand, wasn't very happy with it, and Ulysses decided that it was best to remove her from the equation, which he accomplished by putting her into contact with some monster friends and then claiming she was insane and had to be taken to a medical institution. Great guy. When Ulysses' age was finally catching up to him, he begged Elsa to end his life, but she refused. After he died, she settled in his former family estate in Boston, Massachusetts, and decided to start a monster hunting career as well, using the powers of the Bloodstone Choker whenever the situation demanded. So she's been in a lot of. So that was basically her main story part, right? So things she's been involved with. She was involved in the Initiative, and later returned. So the Initiative, if I remember correctly, was during the Civil War. Yep, that was the 50 state initiative, where they were trying to, what's it called? Not enlist, but register humans, metahumans. And she decided to register. And so I don't know which state she was a part of. I'm assuming Massachusetts. But she might have been Europe, to be honest with you. Because they didn't just have the United States, they also had all over the world. But she might have been, she was either Massachusetts or she was in Europe. I can't remember. I'm assuming Massachusetts just because it was the 50 state initiative. But anyway, she returned to her monster hunting ways. She hunted down the children of Gorum to Prague, where she was impregnated by one of the monsters. But the blood gem killed the offspring while it was inside of her, and she puked it up. Beautiful artistry. She killed all the monsters and vowed to kill all monsters before she died, also vowing to be the last of the Bloodstone line and to never have a child. Because she doesn't want anybody to be like her daddy. In between her monster hunting, she became a staff member of the Broddock Academy. When being known as a dreaming maiden, started dreaming again, Elsa was drawn to track down, due to her father being a member of the Coven, a group that tried to kill the Dreaming Maiden years ago, but was not successful in doing so. Due to the deception by the assassin they hired, Wolverine, they led her to search out the Maiden to finish her father's work, which brought her into contact with Wolverine in the present day. It also brought her into direct confrontation with the Coven members, Murderous Lion, Jefferson Chambers, Wyatt Crawley, and Menace. One of the names sound familiar, but none of the others. After the Maiden had been killed, Vanessa Baker, another previous member of the Coven, brought her and the other members together to get back to business. Then she met Deadpool. Why this is important, I will never know. Which is hilarious. She met Deadpool and worked with the Defenders because Deadpool and Elektra broke into Bloodstone Manor to try to steal her Bloodstone choker. She caught him in the act and managed to lock them in a dungeon with the help of the living mummy and the Frankenstein's monster. But they managed to escape and take the Bloodstone with them. Furious, the White Stripes had just robbed her, which is what they technically called themselves at the time. She tracked them down to get her belongings back, but ended up helping them defeat Doctor Strange impersonator instead. In the end, her Bloodstone was returned to her, and thought it was best for everyone involved to forget the incident that made Elsa and the Thunderbolts remember the events of that day as a nice shawarma lunch together. Meaning basically everyone she worked with thinks they just had dinner together, which I find hilarious. She's done a lot of stuff. She's gone after Doctor Doom, which makes sense because, well, Doctor Doom is a sorcerer and she deals with magic, so it's not that surprising. She's also been in the Battle World, which was believing to have lived there for her entire life. After the collapse of the multiverse, Elsa found herself on the Battle World, which she believed that she lived there her entire life, and now being a commander of the Hell Rangers who guarded the shield. Bear with me. During an attack on the shield by a zombie horde, yeah, there's a lot of things going on here. She was found. She had to fight a bunch of people. She had to fight a zombified juggernaut. She had to fight multiple zombies, and in fact, and basically she was dealing with a whole bunch of stuff there. The multiverse was then restored, and she resumed her regular activities as a monster hunter, going into the fact that she goes back to basically going to Monster Island, which is essentially Prague. And she basically goes and kills every single one there. Or attempts to, anyway. So we're going to talk about her powers. Hold on one second, sorry. Sibling revelations. After some time after the events of Monster Island, she returned back to England, where she was reunited with her brother Cullen. While they were arguing about the state of the Bloodstone Manor, their home was hit by a meteor that shattered into pieces to reveal a girl inside. The girl, who was apparently in stasis, woke up and revealed that she was their father's sister, Lyra, and had been cast to unknown parts of the cosmos by their father a millennia ago. Elsa and Cullen were suspicious at first, but eventually accepted Lyra into their family. Because, keep that bloodline going that you didn't want. Her powers. With the Bloodstone collar around her, she has superhuman strength, ability, durability, agility, a healing factor, and energy projection. Now, the amount of how she's able to do so is unclear. So, some of her feats are... she was able to tear a Jeep into pieces by hitting it with a guitar. Don't ask more questions than that. That's all I got for you. So she's super strong, but it's unspecific how strong she is. Excuse me. She's definitely superhuman strong, but the level is unclear. The same thing goes with her stamina and durability. Granted, she has resilient to damage in most of her most invulnerable forms of physical harm. Although she's been hit by speeding cars, been thrown through windows, and suffered no damage, but she's taken damage before as well, so it's very inconsistent. Same thing with her agility. She can easily outmaneuver most opponents, but also has been hit. So it's really very fluctuant, and it's unclear if it's because of the stone or if it's just because of her in general.
Mm-hmm.
Her healing factor does the same thing, and her energy projection obviously does the same thing. Now, her abilities: master martial artist, weapons proficient in so many things. You name it, she can do it. Firearms, and she's great at throwing things, which I find hilarious. Just because you would think that's just weapon proficiency, but apparently that's separate. Which makes sense when you think about it, because it takes a different skill. But I feel like, I guess when you throw things, it's a different level of skill, but she's able to do so. Now, the power grid for Elsa is, just like Marvel does, it's out of 7. So her intelligence is considered a 4, which is considered gifted. Her strength is considered a 4 also, which is superhuman. Her speed is considered a 2, which is normal. Her durability is a 4 because it's regenerative. Her energy projection is 1, which is considered none, which is interesting because I'm wondering if that has to do with the fact that her energy projection is only from the stone itself, not from her.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But then her strength is 2, but I guess her strength comes from herself as well. It's a weird thing. Anyway, her fighting skills is obviously a 4 because she's a very experienced fighter. Overall, I mean, she's a very skilled fighter. I'm very curious. So, spoiler alert: she was in Werewolf at Night, and her dad's already dead. So the premise is her dad dies, and now it's who's going to be claiming the Bloodstone. That's really what it comes down to. That's the whole point of the movie. That doesn't ruin anything. That's just what it is. And yeah, the only difference from the comics from the movie is that her mother is alive and doesn't like her. But it works for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, overall, I thought it would be a great Halloween theme to do, and plus, she's just recently been added to Marvel Snap as a new card, and
Oh, so that's why you came up with it.
well, yeah, but also it's Halloween themed. They're doing a big push on Werewolf at Night this year again, to really make people watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
It's in fact also on Hulu. They've decided to just branch it out to Hulu for just the month, along with Disney Plus, where it will remain. But overall, that's everything. So thank you very much for you guys for listening. We very much appreciate it. If you made it this long, please like and subscribe. We are going to be doing another episode at the end of the month. That'll be coming out on Halloween. But anyway, thank you very much, and we appreciate it. Have a great night.